Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass live in the color here with you on Grande's Graveyard. Did you miss me? I missed y'all. I gotta be honest. I've been waiting a month and a half to do that little intro I do, you know. It's just a part of my life. It's a part of my everyday and weekly routine, if you will. And man, did I miss it. It has been far too long since the graveyard gates have been open. And man, I gotta say, I am really, really happy to be back tonight on the graveyard with y'all. Hope everybody's doing well. We got a lot to discuss. We've got to talk about where I've been the past month and 2 weeks. We've got top 20 movies to discuss. And of course, you know, a lot of thank yous and all that good stuff to be given out. So we've got a bunch of people already here. We've got Aiden Vavra in the He was here before we even went live. Good brother Aiden. Hope all is well with you, man. Rock on. Dahmer, one of the best people in the whole wide world, man. Rock on, good brother. Blood Brown Productions, check out his channel. A great creative horror mind. You gotta love Dahmer. Absolutely love the guy. AJ Zitro, I'm right here. Where are you? That's the question. Are you popping up into soda pop, a cherry soda in honor of me tonight? I don't know. I hope so. Arthur Bremer's in the house. What's going on, good brother? Good to see your name. Like that, you see, this is why Arthur is. He says he's a simp for me, but I'm fine with just like number one fan. If you want a number one fan hat, we could hook you up. I don't know. We'll be in touch. Absolutely, man. Hey, man. Soulish Trenchcoat, Trenchy, man. Glad to be back. Blessed to be black. Great to see your name too, man. Rock on. The man, yes, I'm back, man. Get that haircut. Hey, man, I'm rocking. I think I'm okay. I mean, it's not as coiffed as I'd like it to be. It's a little bit messy, but man, I've been in that at doctors. I'm back to work this week, so my free time has been a little bit condensed. But I promise, the plan is to go tomorrow after work. I'm getting off a little early, so that is the goal. I'm going to try to get this mop trimmed a little bit. I promise. I've got to keep though the eighth grade class president election running for mustache. I've got to keep that because everyone's got to vote for me. All right, that's just simple math. It looks terrible. I can't grow a mustache at all. My dad, if he doesn't shave for 2 days, he'll grow like a full fucking handlebar. Me, like this has been growing for almost 2 months and like I literally look like it's a shittier mustache than Pedro's in fucking Napoleon Dynamite. It's shitty, all right. I can't grow a stash. I don't know why, you know, considering my dad, but I don't know. And then you know, doesn't grow here at all, just like this awful neckness. But there's a reason for that. Granted, I would like to shave it, to be quite honest with you. But I've been on blood thinners since I've got back from the hospital. So unfortunately, that's why I'm kind of afraid to do it myself because if I do get cut, I'll fucking bleed like crazy. So I don't know. I'm kind of scared to do that. I'm kind of hesitant to do that, but we'll get into the whole story. Night Watch Zone in the house, dude. I watched some of your episode on Sisters, the Palma Sisters. That is a fucking classic movie. I got the Criterion Blue. Oh, man, what a great film! And your analysis review, I really really enjoyed it. Night Watch Zone. He does videos pretty much every day. In depth, awesome stuff. A great guy, man. Rock on Night Watch Zone. I'm very glad to be back, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Aiden Vavra, I already gave you a shout. I don't know if you were back in the Heezy when I did, but rock on, good brother. I'll give you another shout. Who cares? Oh, is that my good brother? Is that King Me Gore? Praying for my facial hair? Yeah, keep it in your prayers. Absolutely. You like the beard, the gorgeous Jimmy Garvin beard? I don't know. I think it's pretty bad. I don't know. The whole thing. The stash is bad too. Hey, man, I'm fucking happy to be back. This has been a long, long road back to this show since I did the last video graveyard episode with AJ. But I guess I get a little bit into where I've been, what I went through. I don't know how long this will be. This might be the longest fucking episode. I don't know because oh yeah, they call her one IT. I'm rocking it, man. That's Christina Lindberg. That is Sweden's one of the greatest, hottest women ever. And this is one of my favorite exploitation films of all time. It's not in the top 20. That's a slight spoiler. But if I was doing a top 20 exploitation list, it would probably be on the top 10. It may be the greatest revenge film of all time. I just love They Call Her One Eye, aka Thriller. On my shirt it says Thriller, a cruel picture, but of course They Call Her One Eye. I mean, that's the better title. But I guess, yeah, I'll get into basically what went down because I know I made the life update video where I discussed a little bit of what happened, but I guess I tell the full story. I don't know how long. I'll try to condense it. I don't want to go on about that. I would like to get into the top 20 list and happier things, but basically what happened was on the following Monday of the show I did with AJ, my mom got diagnosed with COVID. She's okay now. She's doing well. She was in bad shape though for a few days, and I got tested that day. I was negative, was feeling good, and I told my boss. They said no worries, just work from home. I said okay. I worked the rest of the week from home, and at about probably the next day, probably that Tuesday night, came down to play some Crash Bandicoot 4 because I love Crash Bandicoot's my idol. Okay, I just love him. I want to grow up to be like Crash. He's my favorite video game icon of all time. PlayStation 1 kids rock on. I've played Crash 4 and I got the chills. And anybody knows me, I love the cold, man. I'm not one to get cold very often. And I felt a chill and I said, holy shit, man, this is bad. You're probably sick right now. Went up and I felt like shit the rest of that week. I kept working. And then I was like, if this doesn't go away over the weekend, I'm going to get retested. I did, unfortunately, tested positive. And mostly for a while, it was just stomach pain. It was throwing up, diarrhea, all that shit. And I was, it was like a really bad stomach virus for about 10 days. I just couldn't shake it, unfortunately. And then I unfortunately woke up one morning at about 4 o'clock in the morning, coughing my fucking guts out. And I had pain like right here on my upper right side. Unfortunately, then I was taken to the hospital and I was informed I had a ginormous blood clot in my upper right lung and they were going to admit me. So I was like, holy shit, I can't fucking believe this because my COVID turned into pneumonia and that's what caused the clot, unfortunately. No pre existing, conditions or anything like that. And I figured, hey, man, hopefully it's just a couple days in the hospital. I'll be out and better than ever. That was not to be because my third night there, I fucking had the worst pain of my life. About 11:30 at night, felt like somebody stabbed me right here. It was I was watching actually on fucking freeform. I was watching Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which I love that movie. And all of a sudden just felt like somebody stabbed me. So I hit the button, nurses came in, they hit me up with morphine, didn't do shit. They hit me up with fucking oxy and that kicked my ass. So that fucking put me back in and eased the pain. Next morning, I wake up, there's a bunch of doctors around me and they're like, listen, this is bad and it's only getting worse. We've got to admit you to ICU. And unfortunately, they took me there and they put a whole lot of drugs in me. I learned that I had a pulmonary embolism and I had to sign forms and shit like that because they wouldn't let my parents or anybody in to see me because I had COVID. That's the one downside of having what you had. Um, and they said, you have risks of bleeding from the heart now. This is really it's snowballed, and this is really bad. And I was fucking. I'll be honest with you, man. I've never cried so much in my life. I asked the lady too. I made the joke, and she didn't laugh, of course. Sometimes when you try to be funny, it just doesn't work. I said, "I know you're giving me oxygen." I said, "But are you also giving me estrogen?" And she fucking just stove. I even laughed because I was so fucked up on the oxy. I was like, and completely just stone fucking face. I was like, shit. I thought it was funny, but honestly, like I was scared as shit, man. In all seriousness, I was like, Jesus Christ, and delirious from all the drugs they were giving me. Thankfully, all the other medicine, it helped out. Now I'm taking blood thinners now since I left the hospital. This reduces the chance of a clot, and the one in my right lung definitely is dissolving. So, things are definitely looking up from there. I got out of the ICU after about 5 days, scariest 5 days of my life. And then I learned that the meds they were giving me, unfortunately, was screwing up my liver. So we went from the right lung to the heart to the liver, just complete madness. And during this time, unfortunately, my grandmother, who was like a second mother to me, I grew up and she lived in the house with us and I learned had really bad heart palpitations and she was rushed to the hospital. And I was like, oh my God, like just scared for her life now. I'm scared for myself, scared for her. And I just, oh man, like mentally, by the ninth day in the hospital, I was pretty fucking fried. Like I was like, because number one, you miss people, you miss just normalcy. You know what I mean? I even told one of the nurses, I said, I miss my job. I said, this is going to sound crazy, but I miss going to work and working and being angry at the customers and just, worrying about the littler things. Because when you're 24 or whatever, hell, no matter what age you are, you're never thinking about the end. You're never thinking about horrible things. You just, you think about whatever's on your mind. It could be anything. And it was just a lot to have on my plate. And I missed my family and my friends, and I wanted to go home really bad. Um, and I can't say enough for how many people, not just here on YouTube, not on Instagram, but so many fucking people reached out and said, "Hey man, I'm pulling for you." And people brought stuff to the hospital. When I was in intensive care, my friend, he brought a pizza and fucking mott sticks. And I was so delirious, I couldn't even believe it. People brought gift baskets and flowers, all this shit, and so many texts and DM messages and get well soon stuff. And the YouTube video I put up here, so many of you guys, I really appreciate all the kind words and all the love that you guys sent. It really humbled me, and I was really not in a good place. And to see all of you guys saying, "Hey, we love you. We're pulling for you." Hell, even Ty Junebug Films, one of the nicest guys on here, he made a video saying how great of a YouTuber I am and how charismatic I am, and that was just so humbling to hear him say all that. And I really, Ty, I appreciate you saying all that about me. Really, it meant a lot because I wasn't expecting you to make that video. You didn't have to make that video, and you did it anyway, out of your kindness and respect for me. And I really, trust me, I respect you right back, man. You're good people. And I promise I've been thinking of giving you a request, because I know you're taking requests now. So I'm cooking up a couple movies I want to hear you review for me. So that'll be really cool. But to finish this story, which it really, it sadly, it only really goes downhill with a little bit of silver lining. But unfortunately, my grandmother's condition got worse, and I reached out to the nurses and I said, "Hey, would it be possible if I could have lunch with her?" And at this point, I think that I'm not a doctor. I don't know. And I'm not going to make rash assumptions like a lot of the people, out there do. I don't know if I was contagious still with. I don't think I was. I didn't physically feel. It was mainly the side effects of the meds they have given me to shoot down COVID. Still was on a COVID floor, but I don't think I was still contagious at that point. However, I had the mask on and they let me actually have lunch with her. They sat us far apart, of course, and for her safety too, because she wasn't in good shape. Um, and it was just a really nice little like get together for me and her. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't thinking the worst. I was thinking the best. And we had such a nice conversation about our relationship and how much we meant to each other and all the good times that we had of either going to the library or going. She's one of the people that really turned me on to movies. And I remember she took me to see Finding Nemo. This is a true story. Not once, not twice, not thrice, but 5 fucking times in the movie theater. That's how much she loved me. And we would get pizza. We would do puzzles together. She was just such a big part of my childhood. Like I was blessed to have not just one mother, but really in a lot of ways, my grandmother was my second mother, because she was always here for me. Whenever I needed to talk to somebody, whenever I had a problem with school, whenever I had to study for a test, whenever I just wanted to talk and hear about somebody else's day, somebody else's life, she was always there for me. And it really, it meant the world to me to get to see her. Um, and little did I know, unfortunately, that would be the last time I would see her. Um, they rolled me out, and I went back to my room. I 3 days later got the green light to be released, and my liver numbers had returned to normal. And I got home. I had a really nice emotional moment with both my parents, big hugs, tears, and of course I had to get some of the goodies that people sent me, the Cheez-Its. That was the first thing I went for. I went for the Cheez-Its, god damn it. um I went for that stuff. It was so nice to be home and get in my bed, and just a really nice end to the road. And then unfortunately the next day I heard that her condition had worsened my grandmother, and we had put her in hospice, and she later died the next morning. Um, it was after going through all the physical anguish of COVID and the mental anguish of missing my family and knowing that she was in poor health, just it killed me. It really it just dropped a complete bomb on my life, and I was really in a dark place for a few days. Thank you, Trenchy. I love you too, AJ. I love you guys. Really, honestly, you guys mean the world to me, and I'm so glad to be back tonight. I just figured I'd tell this whole story about everything. Thank you so much, Trenchy. I appreciate that. Um, it was a really hard few days because she meant the world to me. And I'd like to go ahead and dedicate this episode of Grande's Graveyard, the return episode, to my grandmother. She really was one of the most important people in my life, and I'll forever miss her. I really will. But I'll remember the memories really fondly, and be thankful that I had them. You know, somebody once said, you know, don't be sad it's over, be glad it happened, and I really believe that now. The first few days, not so much. I was, oh God, I mean, I never cried so much than I did over the past. I said at one point, I said, I'm out of fucking tears. I really am. Like, I can't. I'm just out of it, man. I just was so out of tears at that point. By this point, I mean, but it was really hard. It was really emotional, and I just wanted her to know that she meant the world to me, and I thankfully got to tell her that. Um, so that was what it was. It was really horrible, worst loss I've ever had to deal with. And then thankfully, I went to the doctor. They gave me the green light to go back to work. So I'm back to work this week. It's great to see all the wonderful women in my office. They had missed me as much as I missed them. Just really nice to get a little taste of normalcy back in my life this week, you know, and even coming on here and just talking, just seeing your names in the comments, or, you know, once we get into the movie talk and all that stuff. I'm really I'm blessed to be back. I'm happy to be back. I miss this too much. This is just a big part of my life now. Whether it ever becomes big or not doesn't mean anything to me. It's just it's all about me enjoying talking about my passions, and I absolutely love doing it. Whether there's 7 of you, whether there's 0 of you, it doesn't matter to me. I enjoy doing this. It's a nice like little therapeutic session for me to just kind of blow some steam off and discuss why I love horror mainly. Tonight we'll be delving into other genres, but it means the world to me to be back. And the Flow Chamber, thank you, dude. God bless, man. I'm so glad to be back. Super, super happy to be back tonight, man. Max in the house. But yeah, so it had been a long road, man. I beat COVID. It was a long, tough fight. I'm happy to have won. I was devastated to lose my grandmother. I really was. It was probably the hardest news I ever had to hear in my life. Um, but I know that somewhere she's hopefully watching, and if you are, this episode is dedicated to you and your memory. I love you with all my heart, and we're gonna get underway with this son of a bitch. So without further ado, I guess we will go right into the top 20 movies, in my opinion, of all time. Yes. Originally, I didn't know what I was going to do for the show. I was like, how do you do a big return show after a month and a half? We cook up. What do you really do? And I figured, why not do my top 20 favorite movies of all time and include all genres? And man, I got to tell you, this took a lot longer than I thought it would to make this list. And I got to say, while some of these I'm sure people will kind of roll their eyes at and go, that's in your top 20 movies of all time, like bullshit, man. I don't know. I feel like this is just more of a personal list to me. And while some of these movies may be considered in the top 20 movies of all time, it's hard to say what is and isn't. These are just the ones that are most personal to me. So that is what it is. Ty Junebug Films in the house. Hey, man, glad to be back. I gave you a shout out a couple minutes ago. I don't know if you were in the house yet, but I'll say it again since now you're here. Thank you so much for the video that you made for me. It really was humbling, and it meant the world to me because you didn't have to do that. You did that out of the kindness in your heart and respect for me, and that really that made my day that day when I saw that you did that, because that was right around the time I think it was maybe the day before my grandmother passed. And when you sent that, I was upset, and I saw that and I was like, thank you so much. So I appreciate that. And also, I said, I don't know if you caught it. I'll be sending you requests soon. I've been cooking up a couple. So keep those in mind. I promise I'll leave a comment on your video where you said you were taking requests. So rock on, Ty Junebug. Glad to have you in the house tonight. Ryan Snyder's in the easy. What's going on, my friend? Dude, I'm glad to be back, man. I'm super glad to be back. Did Cats 2019 make this list? Hell no, Mark. You know that Judi Dench and fucking James Corden playing fucking big pussies? No, that did not make my damn list. Dude, yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Lost 18 pounds in the hospital, everybody. I lost 18 pounds. I'm a new man. I weigh under 200 pounds for the first time since fucking probably middle school. Since back when I had a flip phone and was running for fucking school president trying to grow a mustache. I don't know. It still doesn't grow, though. So it is what it is, bro. But I guess we can dive right into this son of a bitch. Oh, wait, but Ty Junebug, I'm going to come here. Well, I saw that video of you in the hospital and cried, man. Yeah. Before I finish reading the rest of your comment, so many people told me that I made them cry. Like, I felt bad at the same time. I noticed I scared a lot of people into getting the fucking vaccine. Like, every single person at my job got the vaccine because of what happened to me. So I don't know. I scared quite a few people into getting the vaccines, but hey, man, I hope what happened to me, I wish that not on anybody, not my worst enemy in the world, because it was hell, man. And to be honest, after God said, come back to YouTube and give you a shout out, dude, I appreciate he said that, man, because it really meant a lot to me. And I thought it was so nice because you didn't have to do that. And I was really humbled when you did that. I was like, much respect to Ty Junebug Films. Everybody, if you're not subscribed to Ty Junebug Films, go check out his channel. He's always doing some fun stuff. He is taking requests now, so that's super, super cool. You also, yeah, I don't know. I guess I struck a nerve with, I just, that was like 10, after 10 days. I spent a total of 12 days in the hospital, and that was day 10. So I just had to let some steam out, man. I lost it. When I thought about the whole situation, I was like, oh man, like just I was sad. I thought about what happened because you don't expect to go through something like that when you're fucking 24. Like you don't. Like initially, and I don't mean to sound ignorant, but when I got it, I said, I'm 24, I'm young, I'll be fine. That was the first thing I said. And I don't mean to be ignorant, but I realized that COVID does not fucking discriminate. Whether you're young, whether you're old, it does not fucking matter. Certain people, it'll attack better than others. I don't know why. It is a true mystery. But hey, I had a long battle with it. It went the whole fucking 15 rounds, but I thankfully got my hand raised at the end. So I'm blessed and very happy to be back in one piece. Don Velvet, Don Nice in the house, dude. Good to see you. I'm back and better than ever. Got a knack for making things better, dude. Chilling like a villain tonight, baby. And you made a film on your show. See, that I missed. I'm sorry. I went back to work Monday, so I've been super swamped. I haven't really watched much YouTube. I'll be sure to check that out. If you even want to leave the link down below here, or even comment it later, or just tell me the title of it for sure. I will check it out for sure. I'm watching Bordello of Blood. What's your thoughts on it? Yeah, I love Bordello of Blood. Tales from the Crypt's awesome. I've been meaning to revisit the show, the series. I know they have a giant set. I think it goes for like $100 or so. I gotta pick that set up because I'd like to. I went back and rewatched all the Tales from the Dark Side. I think I like Tales from the Dark Side better, but there's no denying that Tales from the Crypt, the series, had a bigger budget. And the two movies were a lot of fun. Demon Knight, Bordello Blood, both very fun films. Nothing but prayers and condolences, man. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. I lost my Gma last year, and oh my God, I'm so sorry for your losses, man. I couldn't fucking imagine. I feel your pain for sure, dude. No doubt. I'm thankful we're all in good health. Anyone here has absolutely. Thank you so much, the Flow Chamber. I appreciate you saying all that. Absolutely, nothing but good and positive vibes for everybody here in the chat tonight. Yeah, wrong here. That doesn't matter. We were young and stupid, but it's what we do with this life that makes people remember you. And I think everyone here, we also just remember that person was an amazing person. Yo, amen to that, bro. I'll agree with that. I made a top 15 recently in my channel, and I'm not too happy with it. It's already different, huh? Oh, dude, I got to check that out. I missed that too. So I will definitely be checking that out. Top 15. That's very cool. Yeah, I went overboard with top 20. I don't know how long this is. This could be the longest grave. I don't know. Like I'm trying to keep it a decent length. Somebody tell a damn joke. Yeah, no, I know. I don't. Yo, kick COVID ass. Yeah, hell yeah, man. That might be on the list. Rocky may have made it. I don't know. I don't know. But I think we should. I want to dive right into this. Ty's right. I don't want to be crying. We're going 25 minutes deep. So we get all the crying out of the way. It was a long road back. That's all I wanted to get across. But I'm so happy to be back, and I'm so happy to discuss film with y'all. Let's dive right into this son of a bitch. Coming in at number 20, kicking off the top 20 list. I know that a lot of people love this superhero, and I know that there's a lot of arguments. Who was the best Batman? What is the best Batman movie? Do you like the Burton universe? Do you like the Nolan universe? Well, sons of bitches, I like a different kind of universe. I like a different kind of Batman. I'm talking about Batman Forever. Number 20, directed by the legendary, the late, great Joel fucking Schumacher. I love this movie. This is one I grew up with, and to prove that to everybody, I actually have this movie on 4 different availabilities and qualities to watch. So I've got the 4K here, right? You open that sumbitch up, you've got the 4K on one side, and you've also got the Blu-ray on the other side. Now that's pretty cool. This is the DVD that I watched growing up as a kid to death. This DVD, there's no way you'd be able to show, so I won't be able to. It's scratched to fuck from me watching it to death. Just watch this to absolute death. As a kid, still plays great, no problems. A lot of scratches. It's been rode to death, but I just absolutely love this movie. And then, of course, you got to have the VHS, which was super cool gift for my good buddy Brian White. I don't know if he's watching tonight, but Brian, thank you so much for this VHS tape. This was so cool and nice of you to give me this to complete the kind of Batman Forever collection I have here. Stupid amount of Batman movies and content, and a movie that people are probably like, now how the hell is that on your top 20 movie list? And I got to be honest. This was obviously the last film to make the list. I initially was thinking, well, I do love the first 2 Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, and they're really, really, really high up there for me. But I think when it comes to the total package and a movie that I can watch to death without ever getting sick of, it's Batman Forever. And I love the cast, and I love the neon look of Gotham that Joel Schumacher brings. And I know a lot of people, they kind of look at this movie and go, oh, that's the one that Schumacher did, and it's connected to Batman and Robin, and we don't like Batman and Robin. So this movie, I think, gets dragged really far down by Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin is like the anchor that holds this movie kind of down. Whereas Batman and Batman Returns with Michael Keaton, the Tim Burton films, they're still praised. The Nolan films, of course, they get praised out the wazoo. And hell, I would say even the Adam West series gets more praise than a movie like this. And I beg to differ. I love some of the goofy comedic elements. Who's to say that Batman has to be dark? Who's to say the Dark Knight has to be dark? Why? I know the Burton verse, or whatever you want to fucking call it. I know that was a darker take on Batman, and people loved it. People loved Jack Nicholson as a Joker, as did I. And I think Batman Returns is a great film. Danny DeVito, just excellent as Oswald Cobblepot, aka the Penguin. Michelle Pfeiffer is super sexy as the tight leather wearing Catwoman. And I love that film. But I love this movie more. I think this movie has everything a great superhero movie should have. It looks fucking fantastic. I've frozen here. Uh-oh. Am I back? I don't know. I froze. Did I freeze? Uh-oh. I'm going to check the internet connection. Hold on. If somebody could comment if I'm still here, I don't know. My thing looks frozen. We got a ton of comments too. I missed them all. Holy shit. I think we're okay. I think I'm still here. I don't know. Yeah, we can look at some of these comments though, because it's still loading the comments. Let's see. Forever's interesting flick, fun film. Yeah, I don't know. Just definitely my favorite of the bunch. Here's a joke. You know why girls rub their eyes when they wake up in the morning? Because they have no nuts to scratch. Oh, Jesus Christ, AJ. Fucking crazy bad. Batman Forever is really good. I hope Warner Brothers. Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a lot of discussion with different cuts of this movie. I'll be honest. I've seen all the deleted scenes of this. I like this cut fine. I don't like. There's one where Val Kilmer he like encounters a ginormous fucking bat, and there's another scene in Arkham Asylum, which is this is the only fucking Batman film of the first four at least to show Arkham Asylum, which I always thought was weird, and it's barely in the film, but I always thought it was really funny. Yeah, that one is actually cool, aesthetically pleasing. Jim Carrey steals this movie because at this time he was the hottest actor in the world, coming off movies like The Mask, coming off movies like Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura. He was the hottest actor in the world, and it only made sense to have him play Edward Nygma, aka the Riddler. Yet throw in Tommy Lee Jones, who absolutely despised Jim Carrey, and they somehow have great fucking chemistry in this when they're robbing the stores. Hey, Two-Face, show me how to punch a guy. It's real simple, my boy. You just sit back, assert yourself, and follow through with the punch. Yeah, all right, you reach way back and you pop. And Carrie hurts his hand. They're counting 41,000, 43,000. I lost count. Just the over-the-top silliness. And the scene where they break into fucking Wayne Manor and trick Alfred with the trick or treat masks on Halloween night. Trick or tweet. They break into trick. I fucking. It's so quotable and fun, and it really never gets old for me. I've seen this a gazillion times. Never have I once been like, oh, I'm tired of this. Let me turn this off. Never, ever, never, ever, ever. I had a great movie night with my friend Brian, who loves this as much as me, and he's the one that gave me the 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 VHS. Oh, nice. Told me I'm good. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I don't know. It like looked like it slowed down for a minute. But we had such a wonderful movie night watching this, laughing, being entertained. And that's what I think a lot of superhero movies sort of can miss at times. Go for the entertainment. In this movie, it has all of that. The great finale when Batman confronts the Riddler and he's, given the, will it be Bruce's love or the Dark Knight's junior partner? And the whole, I've got a riddle for you. Really? Tell me. Jim Carrey just, every fucking time I watch this, he never fails to put a smile on my face. And the whole, they're playing Battleship, trying to sink Robin's fucking boat, and hit. He's like, you sunk my battleship, and all that shit. Like, their chemistry was fantastic. It's crazy to see that they hated each other, but in the long run, I just absolutely adore this movie. I just have never had a day where I was like, hey man, sick of Batman Forever. No, never. Just guilty pleasure, I guess. One that it doesn't really get the much love. Val Kilmer gets shit on. I really like Val Kilmer as Batman. I honestly think he's awesome. Chris O'Donnell never bothered me. Nicole Kidman's hot as hell as the sexy psychiatrist, Dr. Meridian. I love, of course, Alfred as always. Think he does a great job in this movie. And I don't know. This is my superhero movie. There's no other superhero movie on this list. The Raimi Spider-Man films came close. Superman 2 with Christopher Reeve, that came very close. But when I sat down and thought about it, and I thought about movies of my childhood that really just made me love superheroes, I look no further than this movie. And I know it's goofy, and I know that it hasn't aged well. And we're talking 25 years later, 26 years later. This movie doesn't have the best rep anymore. And I know a lot of people wanted to see the Robin Williams as the Joker and the Tim Burton version of this. Billy D would have been Two-Face. Would that have been cool? Probably. I mean, I couldn't imagine Robin Williams not giving a good performance. I couldn't imagine Michael Keaton not giving a good performance. Billy D. I think the whole thing would have been well done too. I just like the different look and the kind of wink back to what the Adam West Batman was. Does it always have to be dark, gritty? No. That's why I love this movie. It's fun. It's tongue in cheek. and I just think gorgeous to look at, and a movie that never fails to put a smile on my face. Batman Forever, number 20. Got a bunch of comments. I missed some of them. I apologize. Flow Chamber. I like the aesthetics of Batman Forever more than any film, but The Dark Knight. Oh, well, The Dark Knight is wonderful, and Keith Ledger's performance. It's arguably one of the greatest acting performances of all time. It's just such a phenomenal fucking performance, I think. And he died for that role. Like Heath Ledger, and that's the thing. Like I always say, you don't see Heath Ledger when you watch that movie. Like you can watch any fucking film and just go, oh, that's that actor. You know what I mean? And with some like here, I could give the perfect example, the Jared Leto Joker. You look at that and you're just like, all right, that's Jared Leto with fucking green hair and fucking whatever in the teeth or whatever. That's Jared Leto. You watch The Dark Knight, that's the Joker. That's you don't see any fucking part of Heath Ledger in there. It's almost like he was lost in the makeup and lost in the role. And like it's flooring to me. Jim Carrey was a fun version of the Riddler. I love Nicole Kidman in this movie. This was like prime Nicole Kidman, man. Just absolutely beautiful. Right, comic books are usually cheesy. It's okay for yeah, absolutely. Have some fun. I think it's just entertainment factor. That's what it comes down to for me. Everybody's telling me I'm not freezing. Okay, great. Very good to hear. On to number 19. A little bit of a buddy comedy. A movie that discusses a little bit of the American dream, and a movie that centers around going to my favorite fucking fast food place of all time. I'm talking about Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. One of my favorite comedies of all time. I'm a sucker for a phenomenal road buddy comedy. And I look no further than this movie when I want to watch one. Of course, you have Cal Penn and John Cho in this movie, and they just absolutely have wonderful chemistry in this. I just love their friendship. And of course, they're two buddies. They get home and they're looking for that perfect meal, that perfect feeling. And of course, they want White Castle for dinner. Not KFC, not Taco Bell, not any other place. They want White Castle especially. And they go on the road, and there's 100 great hijinks and funny, quirky, colorful characters they encounter from there, including Christopher Maloney, who plays Freak Show. And Christopher Maloney, of course, from the Law and Order show. He's all in this like ugly, disgusting prosthetic makeup, playing a completely out of role character for Christopher Maloney. And it's just so much to see. There's a scene where you see Ryan Reynolds before he was really famous as like a surgeon. And he did this movie to kind of pay tribute to Cal Penn because they were good friends on the set of Van Wilder. And he said, hey, anything I could do to help this movie out, get a bit role in there, interact with Cal again, I'd love to do it. He shows up in this movie. Really, really cool scene involving medical marijuana, which I thought was always a riot. Of course, you cannot forget the legendary NPH, Neil Patrick Harris, going completely against his own lifestyle. Of course, Neil Patrick Harris is actually gay in real life. In this, he plays the biggest pussy hound in the history of fucking film. And he steals Roldy's car and fucking eats some fur burgers, bro. Everything about this movie is just what you want in a perfect road comedy. And in the center of it, you don't have two, white guys or whatever. You have two minorities. And I like that they shook that up. I like that. And what this movie really tells you, I think, is this could be anybody. This could be you and your best friend. This could be somebody else and their best friend. And that's the beauty of it. I like that they changed the dynamic up a little bit. They, because, and we had great movies before this, great road buddy. Of course, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, one of my favorite movies of all time, Steve Martin and John Candy. Of course, National Lampoon's Vacation. Just absolutely love that movie too. I'm a big sucker for great road films. And this is one of those movies. Of course, there's a scene where they smoke weed and give it to the fucking cheetah and then ride the cheetah to escape the police and get to White Castle. And of course, the scene where they need to hang glide off a mountain to escape the police and get to the White Castle and Kumar goes on this whole rant of the American dream. Harold, our parents were immigrants and they came to this country because they were searching for freedom. They were searching for the pursuit of happiness. And you know what, Harold? They were hungry and they wanted food and burgers with all sorts of condiments and whatever they wanted on them. And he goes on this whole rant of why we love fast food as a nation, as individuals, as whoever. I love that it's the American dream, Harold, and we need to hang glide off this fucking mountain. We need to risk our lives for these burgers because that's the American dream. I just love it every single time I watch it. Another movie like Batman Forever, like pretty much all of these 20 films, that every time I watch it, I just can't help but have a big grin on my face the entire time. Just a movie that I enjoy to death. Completely love this movie. Never fails to make me laugh. I love the two sequels to Guantanamo Bay, Escape from Guantanamo Bay. I actually watched that. Oh man, how long? It was like right before I got sick, actually. And man, I had a great movie night watching that. And of course, Harold and Kumar Christmas. I think that's a really, really fun one too. So Harold and Kumar go to White Castle at number 19. Absolutely love this movie. We got a bunch of more comments here too. Oh boy. Let's see. Yes, love this movie, dude. Yeah, of course, absolutely love this one. Oh man, I'd love to do the White Castle challenge. I actually bought a $135 jacket from Chalkline for the 100th anniversary of White Castle. Yes, this is the 100th year White Castle has been in business, 1921, 2021. And the next time I go, I will be getting the John Grande meal. And if you're confused by that, believe it or not, White Castle, because I always order from their app. And they actually one day on Instagram were posting meals that people frequently order. And they posted my meal with my name on Instagram. So crazy. I was like, holy shit. I was thinking of going there. I was like, there's Travis Scott, and then there's me. I would go in there. I'll be the B man. I don't give a shit. It didn't matter to me at all. Just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Of course, man, I love Roldy and Kumar. Just one of my favorite road comedies of all time. Oh, Jamie Kennedy. Yeah, I forgot Jamie Kennedy. Jamie Kennedy cameo. Oh, and of course, Rothberg and Goldstein. And they're going to hot dog heaven and they're wanting to watch The Gift on TV to see Katie Holmes' tits. And I love their interaction. Katie Holmes is a nice, wholesome, respectable woman. And I'm going to see her boobs. And he takes a hit of it. Fucking hilarious, man. Every single time I watch that, just really, really funny. Of course, one of them's Finch from American Pie, and the other guy is Bernard from The Santa Claus. Just, I love those two together. Really, really funny. I prefer the Christmas one. Oh, the Christmas one's great. The special, is this your special Bush? Dude, Jamie Kennedy is absolutely the man. Yeah, the hot wife, dude. Oh my God. Yeah, see, it's a comedy. It doesn't really get enough love, but I love all the love it's getting in the comments here. Even though I love how, even though they're not the first film. Yeah, absolutely. I love the sequels. I think they're awesome. The first film is the best just because it's like the road comedy of all of them. Yes, White Castle started in Wichita, Kansas, same town which Pizza Hut. I didn't know Pizza Hut started there. That's very interesting. I didn't know that. I'm a sucker for versus films. Oh my God, dude. We just had a huge one come out, Kong Godzilla. I still haven't seen it, but I've got to see Kong versus Godzilla. Very excited to see that one. Oh my God, yeah. They go, oh my God, he's got a gun. He goes, that's not a gun, that's a book. And he's sitting there talking to Roldy. He goes, my life's pretty horrible. He goes, I got two gay fathers. I fucking got arrested for reading a book and fucking, it's just the whole thing. It's just the funniest, one of the funniest comedies of all time. I absolutely love fucking Roldy and Kumar Go to White Castle. Let's see. Well, I would love to see you stream. Eat 47 burgers, 17 fries, cherry Coke, and Diet Coke. I don't think so. I don't think I could do that. Most I ever ate was 17. That was the most White Castle burgers I ever ate. 17 and a large fry. 47, I think I would probably die. I don't think either my heart would burst or my stomach would explode. Either one. Or it would go straight to my thighs like Squidward and fucking explode. I don't know, man. One of those things would happen. Extreme cheddar! Woo! And fucking kayaking in a 7-Eleven. This is fucking classic. Come on, Bookie, let's burn this motherfucker down. I got a hint for you about the secret ingredient. It's semen. Animal semen. And the fucking what do they say? They're like, are you sure there's not a White Castle around there? And he goes, do I look like the kind of brother that would be unsure about something like that? That's my favorite fucking line. He's wearing like a fucking sombrero. Oh my god, dude, y'all can't make me laugh too hard. One of the funniest fucking Anthony Anderson in this fucking sombrero, just being like, "I'm the kind of brother that would not be sure there'd be a White Castle near here." Like, oh my god, man, Anthony Anderson is comedic gold. I even like Kangaroo Jack. I know everybody hates that one. Another one I like. I have the VHS somewhere down there. Absolutely love Kangaroo Jack. Fucking Anthony Anderson kills me though. Sad part is there's no more White Castles in fucking really. That's a shame. I know they're mostly East Coast. I know there's one in Vegas. There's a White Castle in Vegas. Um, that's like the only one on the West Coast, to my knowledge. I don't know, but they're mostly East Coast. I don't know why. I don't get why fast food places do. Well, we'll be West Coast. We'll be East. Why? Fucking be everywhere. Like, what the fuck is? I don't know. Just let everybody enjoy. I don't know. That's just me. But we're gonna move on to number 18. Long live Roldy and Kumar. I'm glad that seemed to be a huge, huge pick for the people in the comments. I thought I was gonna get a lot of wow. That make the top 20. Yeah, I love me some Roldy and Kumar. But coming in at number 18, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. This is one of those movies that absolutely changed the way I looked at movies. And when I first watched this, about an hour in, I leaned up because it was late. I can tell a little story before I reveal what this is. I remember it was like 2 a.m. and I couldn't sleep. I was chilling down here actually, and I actually had a nice fucking glass of cherry coke, and I'm trying to figure out something to watch, and I stumble upon this movie called Mulholland Drive right here. And about an hour in, David Lynch just completely took me from my seat and my sofa with my cherry coke glass and all into just a different world where I was just absolutely fucking floored with all the things that were going on, the complete and utter just unbelievable imagery and performances and mystery, if you will. I just think this is one of the greatest movies of all time. Mulholland Drive, of course, written and directed by David Lynch, starring Naomi Watts, Justin Terrio, and Laura Harring. I always forget Laura Harring. This is just one of the movies that made me love movies and think about movies in a completely different way. Basically tells the story of this woman, and she's going to Hollywood to try to make it as a big actress. And she goes to her aunt's apartment. The aunt has left the apartment to kind of leave it there for her. And Laura Harring is there, and she doesn't know who she is. And from there on, the film kind of just goes all over the place. We meet Justin Terrio. He's casting his new film, and he's threatened by these big, we don't know who. Are they the mob? Are they studio executives? Are they fucking weirdos? We don't know. Are they literally the politics of Hollywood? They want him to recast his film with this certain specific girl, and they tell him, this is the girl. One of the greatest, most haunting scenes of all time. And I can run through a couple scenes with this that just absolutely blow me away. The scene where he has to cast Camilla Rhodes, this is the girl, played by Melissa George, beautiful woman. They tell him, listen, if you don't cast her, you're done. Basically, there's this great intense scene with him and the cowboy who stares him down, and the cowboy has no eyebrows and tells him, you're going to go tomorrow and you're going to do good. If you do good, you'll see me one more time. If you do bad, you'll see me two more times. And just the mind games David Lynch is able to play with you and just completely swerve you down so many different areas and avenues, and to leave it up to you and make you interpret for yourself. That's why I love this film. When I first saw it, I had so many different thoughts and so many different ideas. And there are so many other people on the internet. Like if you're a person that loves to read articles, so many people have different interesting interpretations about what this movie truly means and what David Lynch was trying to say, trying to crack the mystery, if you will. And even though I have my own thoughts, authorities, whatever, I'm not going to go into those here. I don't want to go into those here. If I ever do an in-depth review, I'll go into why and what I think goes on in this film, what the purpose is. But I just want to run through some scenes and say why I love this movie. There's a couple scenes that blow me away. The scene where he's casting Camilla Rhodes. And the entire way David Lynch edits that scene and shoots that scene is just, when I saw it, I was like, I would love to make a film someday this fucking good, this well done. Some of the extreme visual close-ups of the director's eyes, not wanting to do what he has to do, but doing it anyway because he knows that his life could be at jeopardy if he does not cast this girl. And the song played, just, oh, it's so haunting. He picks her, and then there's this guy kind of watching. Excellent choice, Adam. I love that. And there's a scene also where he and Naomi Watts, they kind of lock eyes, and it's almost in vain saying that that's not the girl, even though they want it to be. This is the girl. And I love that that's kind of a knock at Hollywood. Sometimes talent doesn't rise to the top. Sometimes somebody picks who's going to be the lead. And sometimes it hurts. And it really, it goes there in this film. And I just think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's one of the movies that made me realize that you could watch movies in a different way and look for different things. His absolute magnum opus and masterpiece at that, Mulholland Drive, one of my all-time favorite movies. Never get sick of it, and always love hearing the interesting, colorful interpretations people have for this one, because it never gets old. It really doesn't. Mulholland Drive at number 18. We've got some comments here. Let's see. I believe Trenchy was first. Hey, we all have different tastes. That's what makes this funny. We all have odd movies on our list that people wouldn't get. Yeah, that's the thing. And a lot of movies on this list, they have impacted my personality, and me personally, just my personal thoughts. Like the number 4 movie. I try to live my life like the specific character in that movie. I really do. Like I think the world of it. We'll get there, I guess, but I don't know. I definitely agree with that. It's more of what it personally means to you than it actually being, oh, compared to all the greatest other films, it's not. It's no fun, man. It's not. It's good as far as David Lynch goes. My favorite is Dune. That's very interesting, which he thinks is his worst movie, probably just because I'm a big fan of the book. I think I didn't hate Dune that much either. And at the same time, he probably hates it because it's really not his own. But at the same time, Elephant Man's a great movie, and that wasn't really his own. My favorites probably be Eraserhead, Lost Highway, Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive. I really like Wild at Heart. The Straight Story is a good movie. He's made quite a few good films. The only one I honestly I don't like Inland Empire at all. I don't know if everyone's seen that. That movie, I forced myself through that one. That was my least favorite David Lynch film for sure. I have to see Mulholland Drive, dude. Completely, it'll blow your mind. Just in the way, like a lot of people tell me, like, oh, Pulp Fiction, which I think is one of the great movies of all time too. Don't get me wrong, and it came before this. Like people say, oh, Pulp Fiction, it's one of the most important films, playing with the non-linear and all this stuff. And I completely agree and understand with all the praise. But to me, Mulholland Drive just, oh my God, it takes that and just completely makes it into its own. It's like it's like 4-dimensional. It's incredible. I love Mulholland Drive. Can never get enough of it. Mulholland Drive is fantastic. Slightly prefer. That's totally understandable. Blue Velvet's awesome. Well, look at the list I made when I did my top 20. A lot of those movies that I picked were old Hollywood movies, and that is how I carry myself. Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting as to how personal your top movies can be to you. Are some of these, is Harold and Kumar one of the top 20 movies of all time? Probably not to most people. I'm sure people would have Forrest Gump in there. I'm sure people would have The Shawshank Redemption in there. It's a Wonderful Life in there. Those are all great movies. I don't know, but to me, like Harold and Kumar never fail to make me smile and entertain me. And that's really what I'm looking for when I watch a great film. Sure, I like to watch films like the ones I just mentioned too, but personally, I can connect and speak and hear and whatever more with that film. That's just me. But I guess so. That was number 18. That means on to number 17, which is another. This one's kind of a tie. This one's kind of a cheat. But we were just talking about personality, how these films kind of like personally connect to us. No exception here. Coming in, I got to take the slipcases off. I don't really like the slipcases. I'm a sucker for the original cover art, so I'm taking the slipcases off. It is none other than Michael A. Simpson's Sleepaway Camp 2 and Sleepaway Camp 3. Probably my favorite slasher films. Just absolutely love these. Um, the kills, the over the top fucking acting, the self awareness of literally putting Freddy's glove, Jason mask, Leatherface's chainsaw on the poster art, and Pamela Springsteen just giving what I think is the greatest performance in the history of film. I really truly believe that. Like, I know a lot of people will be like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?" I That's just my opinion. I think her performance in these movies is just nothing to be understated. And I would hopefully one day she comes out and does a convention, because I will be the first motherfucker online, no matter where that convention is, no matter how much the VIP pass would be. I'd be the first son of a bitch online, because these two movies, her performance, it just blows me away every time. And once again, these are two movies that never fail to put a smile on my face. And they're why I love horror movies, right? Because again, we can have some fun. We don't have to be dark, gritty, what have you. We can have some fun and wink along and while we're doing the things that we're doing. And that's why I love Angela Baker character. She's winking at you, tongue in cheek while she's killing all these kids. And she really morally wants the world to be a good place. And I love some of the scenes where she's like, I hope you girls, you won't get in any more trouble. She genuinely, you can tell from the performance how much she really wants everybody to just be, normal. And I love that character. It just never grows old to me. I think it's really nothing short of amazing. And I always say this too. And Don just commented, do we talk about this a million times? I love these movies. You mentioned, I remember on one of the older shows, we talked about the greatest horror performances, and we mentioned Kathy Bates in Misery. This character, and we agreed on this, it's almost like a precursor to what that character became, because again, the Kathy Bates character, there were times where you cockadoodie, she wouldn't curse. She was morally sound. And this character is kind of the precursor to that, right? She's morally sound. She doesn't want anybody to drink, smoke, have sex, all these things. And of course, that's what she's surrounded by when she goes to be a counselor at a summer camp. Of course, I mean, Kathy Bates gets all the credit. She gets all the Oscars, and that's all well and good. Kathy, you earned that. One of my favorite movies and performances, Rob Reiner's Misery, and Kathy Bates and James Caan together in that. Just one of the best Stephen King adaptations, too. Probably a top 10 for me. But this character, this performance, I don't think it gets its due in the sun. I don't think it'll ever get its due in the sun. But I can't help but say that I've watched these two movies to death too, and I can never get enough of them. If I had to pick two or three, I'd actually go with part three, just because it's even more over the top and campy. And this actual edition, this Scream Factory edition, has the uncut version with all the uncut kills, way more gore. That flagpole kill, that's one of the best kills in the history of movies. If you see that uncut, unbelievable, man. The amount of fucking brains and gore, all that shit that comes out. Of course, the outhouse death scene in part two. What's down there? Shit, it's your favorite word, Allie. You should have been the first to go. I stabbed you in the back. Just the promo that she's able to cut. Oh my God, man. It's just such I love it. And I know a lot of people, I think the thing is with this, people see part one, and then it goes to this, and they immediately just go, that wasn't like part one. And the original, that came out during the golden era, like towards the end of it, right? Like you had movies like The Burning, Madman, Friday the 13th. Then there was Sleepaway Camp in 83. That was like towards the end of that golden era. I'd say 84, 85 is where it peaked, and then it kind of 86 on, the movies like this aren't remembered as fondly, which is a shame. But I think the change in tone, going more comedic, it kind of soured some people. And I understand that. Trust me, there are some comedic horror films that I don't find very funny. But this is one I do find funny, and I do find horrific at times when it has to be. I think the character is actually very terrifying when she turns. How'd you learn to chop wood like that? I never chopped wood before, but I've chopped other things. What's your favorite color? Blood red. She gives you all the fucking clues and hints that she is a murderer. And all these fucking people around her have no unearthly idea until it's too late. Long live the Angel of Death. Long live Pamela Springsteen. My favorite actress performance of all time in these two movies, Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3, the number 17 slot. I love Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 more than the original. Bro, let's start a club. Let's start the fucking Camp Rolling Hills or Camp New Horizons club, because either one, I want to be in it with you, man. Long live those sequels. I love them. See part 3. If you can get your hands on the uncut version, do, because that uncut version is such a game changer. You're Not Alone. I love 3 more than 2. Yeah, 2. I definitely think 2 gets more of a like pass than 3. Like, I know a lot of people that think 3 is like one of the worst. I don't fucking get it personally. I know IMDb has all of them above a 5, which for slasher series, that's pretty good. Friday 13th movies are around there too. So, I mean, it's a great trilogy. I love the trilogy. Hate Return to Sleepaway Camp, but that's neither here nor there. Aren't those Shout Factory? Yes, especially with the slip covers. I have the slip covers here. I like the art too on these. I'm just more of a simp for the original covers. The part 2 one is going for like 130, and I think part 3 goes for like 40, $50. That was the last time I checked. I haven't checked in a while though, so I know these two bad boys are going for crazy money. But I wouldn't sell them for all the money in the world, because when I heard that these two movies were getting Blu-ray high def special editions, I'll be honest, I creamed my jeans wherever I was when I fucking heard that. And you bet your sweet ass that I fucking pre-ordered these two sons of bitches. Two of my favorite movies of all time. Never get sick of them. Can't wait for the summer to come around, because I always watch these over the summer. Just two of my favorite movies ever made. Let's see. I actually think that Sleepaway Camp 1 is probably on my list of overrated horror movies. Only watched that movie because of the ending. Yes, see, that's the big thing with the original film. I don't know if it wasn't for that ending, would that movie have the rep that it does? Or would it have been one of the movies that got lost in the shuffle at the time, like a Just Before Dawn, like a Madman? Because at the time, Madman, Just Before Dawn, they did not shatter box office records. They were obscure. It wasn't until, diehard genre fans were like, yo, who remembers Madman? That was a great movie. And like, these movies resurface, and then they get their special editions, their documentaries, 30 years of Mad Men. I never thought I would see a 30 years of Mad Men. You think about that. Like, it's just amazing how these movies resurface. I dare to say, if it wasn't for that ending, Sleepaway Camp would have fallen through those cracks. I'll make a bold statement and say that. I like the film. I like the first film. I've seen it in the theater actually 2 or 3 times. I saw it in the theater with Robert Hiltzik. He was there. And also, weirdly enough, people don't realize this. In the opening scene, the two kids on the boat, and the boating accident happens. The youngest son, the youngest son, that's the situation from fucking Jersey Shore. That's his brother. And when I went to see it in New York City on 35 millimeter, he was fucking there. The situation from fucking Jersey Shore. The whole family was there in the theater, and like they came up after. It was Robert Hiltzik, him, and it wasn't Felicia Rose wasn't there. She was at the second time I went to go see that. So that movie, it does have a ginormous fan base, and it's really, really cool. But I just thought that was crazy. I saw a movie in the theater with the director and the fucking guy from Jersey Shore. Just thought that was really crazy. But the sequels, at least 2 and 3, have to me just sort of a fun. Yeah, and I like that they were self-aware before the Scream movies were. Like, again, another thing they don't get credit for. They were super self-aware of all the tropes and stuff of the fucking, of course, you have the whore and the jock and the good girl, the morally good Renee Estevez, like all that stuff. They were super fucking self-aware. And like, again, nobody ever goes, people go, oh, Scream, that's the one that Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 did it first. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. Return to Sleepaway Camp is garbage, featuring the holy shit. That fucking movie stinks. Fuck you, Alan, you fat fuck. I've tried to buy 2 and 3, and like you said, they go for a stupid amount of money. I should have bought them when they first came out. Yeah, I know. I don't know how well they sold. I'm not sure why they went out of print. Maybe somebody better would know better than I. But yeah, no, they go for, especially part 2 goes for like $130 with the slipcover. I know that. But I don't know. I'm just a mark. I'm a huge fan. I pre-ordered those sons of bitches. I will defend part one and saying it's some brutal kills. The curl. Oh, definitely. I even love the prosthetic effects on the cook when he's like burning up and shit like that. That's a great prosthetic effect. It's not as good as the cop's mustache towards the end though. That is a funny one. I also love. You gotta love Meg. My name's Meg. Meg. Gotta love Meg. Okay, so we're completely shifting gears, and we may just be in a taxi to do so. Coming in at number 16, it is none other than Martin Scorsese's magnum opus. I'm talking about Taxi Driver. I switched this up a little bit. I don't believe it or not. Like I'm talking about the edition. Like I have the VHS here, the super old VHS. This is really. I'm just a mark for old school editions of things. Like, granted, I love the new stuff too. Like, I wanted to get that Blu-ray Steelbook, but now I'm kind of waiting on a 4K. I'm like, shit. I'm sure the 4K will be dirt cheap too, of this movie because I'll go from VHS to 4K. Fuck it, why not, right? This is another one of those movies where because it's on VHS, I grew up watching mostly VHS tapes. Didn't have a DVD player until probably like 2004. Um, this was one of those movies that I'd watched to death, as even as a kid, which is a kid probably shouldn't be watching this. But man, I just what a great gritty depiction of New York City in the 1970s. And you have Robert De Niro, I think, giving the best performance of his career. And that's saying a lot. That's the guy that was in Raging Bull. That's the guy that was in fucking Jackie Brown. I love him in Jackie Brown. We were talking about that, me and Billy Henry, on the Tarantino episode. Cape Fear. I mean, Heat. How many great Robert De Niro films and performances have there been over the years? A ton, and a ton with Scorsese, of course. Even just this past year, I thought The Irishman was a wonderful film. But to me, it gets no better than Taxi Driver, right? This movie right here. Just because I always loved just the entire like pace and direction of this movie. There's a scene where he asks Sybil Shepherd out on a date. And he tries a couple times, fails the first time, but eventually she gives in. And he takes her to go see like a dirty movie and she fucking freaks out, like gets away from him. I was said to myself as a kid, I was like, that's something a sick, dirty motherfucker would do, and I love that. I know a lot of people would probably be like, huh, like why would you take Sybil Shepherd there? Why the fuck would you not take Sybil Shepherd there? Gilbert Gottfried, wherever you are, you need to do a rant on this, all right? Like full on Gilbert Gottfried, why would you not take Sybil Shepherd to the fucking dirty movie? Why the fuck not? I don't know. I would. I'll raise my hand. I'll do it. I'll take Sybil. I don't give a shit. I'll take her in my taxi. No charge. But I remember even as a kid being like, what the fuck? Like just being absolutely mind blown by that. I just loved that opening. And then his slow kind of descent to madness. And I always love the scene where Palantine, the guy who's running for office or whatever, he gets in the taxi and he goes, hey, what do you think of this city? What do you think of this town? And he goes, I like it. It's real good, but it's really dirty. I think you should do some cleaning up around here. And I think that's what's best for New York City at this time. And you come in contact with all the filth and indecency that there was in New York City around that time. Of course, you have the cameo from Martin Scorsese wanting to kill his wife for committing, infidelity on him. And he has some horrible things to say that today would be probably canceled, and rightfully so. But I think that's what this movie is trying to depict. It is the dark side of New York City and all the horrors that there are in, the concrete jungle, the bright lights, the big cities. Sometimes there's a dark side to everything, man. And this movie really, really shows that gritty, disgusting side of the Big Apple. And I love that. And I love his training when he's, nothing bad will come into my body. Every muscle will be tight. And he's buying the guns and all that stuff. And he wants to, his low, kind of sense of drive is Jodie Foster's character, who's a young prostitute. And he's telling her, you should go home to your family. That's what you should do. And this isn't a life for a young girl like you. You really need to wake up, open your eyes, and get your ass home. And at the end, he comes in and just a full on fucking massacre, starting with shooting Harvey Keitel in the stomach. And of course, he runs in, and the classic imagery of him bleeding, and of course him in the movie theater doing all this. And I just think it's absolutely iconic. This is one of the reasons I think the 70s is the greatest decade in the history of film. I know a lot of people go and would say 80s. I'll say 70s, man, because I just love the grit and the fucking utter, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like the utter kind of angry feel some of these movies have. They're very real, they're very genuine, and it doesn't get grittier than Taxi Driver. Love this film. Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese. You can't beat that duo. So that was number 16. A couple comments here. Let's see. Taxi Driver is good. I do kind of wish the original choice for Irish took the part was Tatum O'Neal. Really? See, I didn't know that either. She would have been a year out of Bad News Bears. See, that's probably why they didn't, because Jodie Foster looks older than her. Definitely, that's probably why. But she turned it down because she's an Oscar and what. Well, joke's on her. Jodie Foster got nominated for an Oscar for this movie. So, Taxi Driver is amazing. Love the deep dive into a broken man and watching him try to do a very horrible thing, and also doing heroic, selfless thing. It's very deep. Yeah, you play with all of the kind of emotional ups and downs, the polar opposites. There's a scene where he tries to assassinate, Palantine. Then there's the scene at the end where he heroically saves Jodie Foster's character, and you see the note that the parents write to say, "Hey, we appreciate it," and I think that's what he needed. He needed to know that he was appreciated in what he did, and I think that's pretty deep. It has a lot to say. It's really a deep film. I love Taxi Driver. Hell yeah, I have that one on Blu-ray. Definitely one of Nero's best. Yeah, that Steelbook edition Blu-ray goes for nothing. It goes for like $5. George Lucas. So I didn't know that either. See, Ty Jumbo Phil knows it all, man. He's a trivia guru. Also, fuck 189, and the other one went up to 90, so about doubled. That's pretty nuts. 189 for Sleepaway Camp 2 used. That's pretty fucked up. That's crazy. I think Joe Bob Briggs said it best. 70s were a time when you did not know if the director was quite sane. Yeah, and that's probably why I love it. It's as dark as Scorsese will ever go. Then that and Raging Bull definitely has some dark scenes in it. But then you move on into his filmography, and there's different films and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love diving into the grit. And talking about gritty 70s movies, this is a pretty decent transition. I didn't plan this, I swear. I guess I could read. I have the fucking poster right here. It rests on 13 acres of earth over the very center of hell. Mary, 17, is dying. And even for her, the worst is yet to come because she lived in the last house on the left. One of my favorite, probably my favorite, it's right there with my favorite exploitation films of all time. And it's one of the movies that I can watch and say without fail why I love horror. From every single aspect and element of it. Here's the Arrow Blu-ray. Probably one of my favorite Blu-rays I own. The transfer on this is fucking incredible. Believe it's not the 2K transfer, but it looks phenomenal. Also, I'd like to say, Arthur Bremer, thank you so much for complimenting my beard. See, the mustache is bad. It's bad, but the beard, I appreciate the love, man. God bless you. But Last House on the Left, man. The first time I saw this, what a gut punch. What a movie that lives up to the reputation, right? Because years you hear, oh, that movie, that's fucked up. I know, like videos, I remember this, but a faint memory, but I do remember. Like Blockbuster wouldn't carry shit like this back in the day. Hollywood Video wouldn't carry shit like this. It wasn't until that remake came out until that's when I started seeing this on the show. And I went, I fucking see what you did there. I see. Great, I had seen the movie before that, but I just thought it was very interesting. And that was right when like Hollywood Video and all those things, that was right before the end, before it started fading out. But Last House on the Left, why do I love this film? First of all, think about it. The marketing. How genius was the marketing for this film? The poster, the tagline, the fucking absolute genius of the marketing by Sean S. Cunningham. Of if you're scared, keep telling yourself it's only a movie, only a movie, only a movie. Genius marketing. And the simple story of two girls just looking to have a nice night out, go to a concert, smoke some pot, and they pretty much ask the wrong person. And for the next however many minutes, insanity ensues. And you have David Hess giving one of the all time great horror antagonist performances in the history of the genre as Krug. And of course, that's where they got the name. Wes got the name for Freddy Krueger, was from this movie. David Hess's character Krug. Just the mean spirit of this movie is why I adore it. And I love Jeremy Rain, who was married to Richard Dreyfuss for all these years. Love her character as Sadie. Piss your pants. And she's getting off on it, sadistic, enjoying all these things. And it's just really like, I remember when I first saw this, I was small. I was a kid, man. I was like, oh my God, she made her piss herself. Oh my God, they're gonna make them have sex together. Now they're cutting her. Now he's carving his name into her chest. Holy fucking shit. This movie lives up to that reputation. And I think where it really gets me is when after that stuff is going on, after they've been raped, the first, Lucy Grantham's character has been killed. You see Sandra Castle's character; she gets up and she's crying and she's covered in dirt after being raped by this man. She walks over to the pond and they play this beautiful song played by David Hess. Now you're all alone, and it's in that moment where I realized that horror is so much more than what I had just seen, right? I just saw cutting, I saw blood, I saw rape, I saw all this horror. But the real horror was the aftermath of when she got up and how down she was, how defeated she was. Her life was over in that moment, even though she was still walking and breathing. And that made me realize that's why this genre is so brilliant, man. That's why it shines so bright. And you see, even the antagonists are sickened by what they had just done. These weren't, you know, your sadistic, I like to call them like black and white villains. You know what I mean? Like you have the villains that I'm gonna blow up the world. You have the villains that are just purely evil. This was a step and delve into gray area. These were people that just did something horrific. And this was a woman that was defeated and broken. And David Hess almost puts her down like a fucking horse that broke its leg. The psychology behind that, you can't beat it. And I know a lot of people have problems with this. Oh, the music is off. Oh, the cops are goofy. I understand that stuff, man. I get the gripes. It never truly bothered me to the point where I was like, I can't watch the film. I know a lot of people feel like that. I don't at all. I really don't. And then, of course, having these antagonists meet Mary Collingwood's parents. And of course, you get this great badass kind of battle between the two parties at the end. And that kind of lasting image of the parents who, yes, we got a revenge. We killed them, but our daughter's still gone. And our happy birthday banner is just hanging by a thread. Their lives are still destroyed in that moment. Nobody really wins. We all kind of lose. And I know it's a dark message. It's a gritty film. It's mean spirited. And for a guy that I'm pretty high spirited, but I don't know. I think this is another reason why I love 1970s films. This was just a big middle finger to the peace and love generation. And I love that Wes Craven said, I will not shy away from the craziness. I will not shy away from the violence because this needs to be told. And I think it's one of the greatest movies of all time. This is The Last House on the Left, number 15. We got a ton of comments here. I missed a lot of them. I love Wes Craven's films, even stuff like My Soul to Take. Oh, God. I don't know about that. And mentioned with this one. Ribbit. Oh, you gotta love it. Junior. I love the song. Weasel and Sadie, Juggy and Dad. Out for the day for the... I fucking love the song when they're on the car with all the characters' names in it. Like, for every great song David Hess did in that movie, there's like one where you're just like, this one's really fucking cheesy, but I love it. I love the wheels turning, some of the leaves are turning brown. I have the soundtrack. This actually comes with the soundtrack. It's in my car. I listen to it from time to time. David Hess was the man. Wrote for Elvis, movies like Hitchhike, movies like Body Count, movies like House on the Edge of the Park. David Hess, one of my favorite actors of all time. Another guy, may he rest in peace. I even remember the name of that video store, the porno one, Miracle Video. West. Yes, he is. And I will give a little bit of a spoiler here. He's the only director on my top 20 list to crack it more than once. He's on this list more than once. Not more than twice, but he's the only one to be on it twice. So that's pretty amazing. Yeah, I feel the same with Cannibal Holocaust. The character, yes, exactly. The scariest thing in that movie is not all the stuff people go on about. People go on about all the animal cruelty. Yes, in real life, that was the most disturbing, fucking horrible thing. Absolutely. But they go on, but the killings, the rapings, the impalings, there's nothing scarier to me than a New York City film prep smiling at the fucking girl impaled on the pole, smiling, knowing this is good footage, this is good stuff, laughing at it, making a joke, invading the cannibals' tribes and villages, and fucking shooting their food, shooting their dinner down, burning down their huts, and then having sex in the ashes. That's the true horror of Cannibal Holocaust. And the true question they ask at the end, I wonder who the real cannibals really are. Is it these river savages that live in the Green Inferno, or is it us? And that's coming from I live in New York. Just completely got me. Ruggero Deodato is a genius. And I think a lot of people miss that point of that movie. I think they see it's the most disturbing film of all time. No, this movie has a message. And it's telling you, look in the mirror, pal, because you're the most disturbing movie of all time. I think that's just awesome. Oh, yeah, of course, man. He's one of the cops in it, of course. Sweep the leg. I wish he had said that. He's the idiot. He forgets to fill up the gas. And that's the only reason they couldn't get there in time, which is funny. My soul take is bad. I can't deny. Dude, one of these days I should do a commentary on that. That would be really funny because that movie is fucking hilariously awful. Good job, Wes Craven. Boo. Sean Sleazeball Cunningham. Yeah, well, hey, you say what you will. The guy knew how to market. Guy knew how to market film, and he made, arguably one of the biggest hits of all time, Friday the 13th. So I give Sean Cunningham his due. He was a good marketer. He definitely knew how to market. As a creative, is what it is. But moving on, I could put the old Last Us on the Left back in the case. Everybody get this fucking Arrow edition. It's like the best Blu-ray fucking special edition I own. It's amazing. Moving on into number 14. This is a movie, another one I watched to death. I knew I had to put a Christmas movie on this list, so I went through all the great Christmas movies. It's a Wonderful Life, Elf, Christmas Story, but there's none that I watch more and love more than this one, and it's none other than Chevy Chase in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Christmas Vacation. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Where's Cousin Eddie at? Where is he at? Shouldn't he be, doesn't he usually eat these things? Well, he learned that squirrels are high in cholesterol, Clark. Gotta love it. Christmas Vacation from 89. Yes, 1989. My favorite Christmas movie, the one I watched the most. And I think the brilliance of this one is the family aspect. Because this is the only vacation film of the main series, the main four, where they don't go anywhere. They don't go to Vegas. They don't go to Europe. They don't go to Wally World. They're at home, and their family comes to them, and it's the dread of anybody and everybody who has spent the holidays with that annoying aunt or whatever, the annoying cousin who fucking talks too loud or chews with his mouth open. We've all been there. And Chevy Chase, just some of the fucking eye cells he does and reactions and some of the lines in this movie are just absolutely iconic, man. I love in the opening scene with him and the girl from Seinfeld, Julie Louis-Dreyfus. He goes, where are you going to put that tree, Griswold? He goes, bend over and I'll show you. And fucking, he goes, you got a lot of nerve talking to me like that. He goes, I wasn't talking to you. Of course, talking to fucking Julie Louis. Classic, man. And of course, Eddie, if I woke up with my head sewn to the carpet tomorrow, I wouldn't be any more surprised than I am now. And the kids, and her eyes aren't crossed anymore. She falls down a well, eyes go crossed. Gets kicked by a mule, they go back to normal. I don't know. Just and Randy Quaid, I know he's crazy now, but he is unbelievably funny as Cousin Eddie. He just never fails to make me laugh in this movie. He's so fucking, he almost steals the film. The whole finale with the cops breaking into their house and the squirrel and the dog and Chevy Chase just going crazy, that crazy rant. Uh, I haven't had any more fun since fucking Tap Dance with Danny K. Danny fucking K. Where's the Tylenol? Hallelujah. Holy shit. That whole rant he goes on at the end. And the total like comedy of just having the horrible, family members come over and just ruin your holiday, if you will. I always thought that was really smart and fun. And even when the doorbell rings, it's not a normal, it's like do 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 do. Like this is something nobody wants to fucking deal with, and all the crazy stuff like that. I just always thought that was really funny. Him setting up the lights and falling off the ladder, him trying to get the lights to turn on, of course, and he going crazy about that, punching the fucking reindeer and shit like that, punching Santa, the whole dinner, and will you please say grace? Grace, she died 30 years ago. The old lady, Aunt Edna, is your house on fire, Clark? And they ask her to fucking say grace, and she gets up and does the fucking Pledge of Allegiance. Like, every single joke in this movie, it just lands for me. I don't know. This is totally my humor. I'm a big fan of Chevy Chase, especially around this time. I thought he was really, really just killing it. And this was always my favorite vacation movie of that entire series. I know the original gets a lot of hype and praise, and I know this got bashed originally when it came out. Kind of baffling to me. I love Christmas Vacation. Probably my favorite Christmas movie. The one I definitely watch the most. I don't know. Absolutely love this one. Christmas Vacation, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation comes in at number 14. One of the best. All right, moving on to number 13. This is another one that I don't know. I don't know if a lot of people would really think of this one as much. And I gotta say that when it comes to sports movies, I wanted to have a sports movie on here too. And I went through a lot. Rudy was considered. I absolutely love Rudy. Hoosiers was considered another movie. I think one of the best probably my favorite basketball movie. Of course, the Bad News Bears, Moneyball, Field of Dreams, A League of Their Own. So many fucking great sports movies out there. Miracle with Kurt Russell, the greatest actor of all time, in my humble opinion. How somehow is not in any of these movies. That's crazy. How the fuck did I not have Kurt Russell movie in my top 20? That's a shame. I shouldn't have did that, but I don't know. It's too late to go back now. But when I thought about it, when I thought about sports movies where I got the total package, like the sports action was good, the characters were lovable, the story, the message, all that stuff kind of came together and flowed perfectly. I looked at none further than the number 13 option on this list. I looked no further than Remember the Titans. Another VHS I had here. I don't own the Blu-ray or DVD of this. Starring Denzel Washington, Will Patton. This is a great film. This is one of those movies that, again, nobody fucking talks about this. And I find that baffling. Of course, you have Denzel Washington, who he comes in to coach the Titans. And of course, they're firing longtime coach Will Patton. And you have a lot of pretty much a race war between the two sides. You have, of course, the white players that don't want to play for Denzel Washington, and then the young new black students that are being accepted, because takes place in the 60s. So this is just when they were allowing black kids and white kids to go to school together. And throughout this movie, you have a lot of racial tension. And I like how this was tackled a lot better than other movies. Like, personally, I'll say this. There's a movie called Glory Road. It came out a couple years after this, trying basically to do the same thing, but with basketball. The problem with that movie, number one, none of the characters are as fun or likable like they are in this. But number two, at the end, I don't even know what it was trying to say. Like, this movie has a clear message of what it's trying to say. That movie, I fucking really did not like the ending. Basically, the ending is he benches all the white kids to prove that I don't know. Like, I don't understand. Like, they win the championship. He benches all the white kids and the movie ends. Like, I'm just like, the whole time you were like saying, let's play together. And at the end, you were like, well, you sit on the side. Like, just very, I thought that was very like weird. Like, I don't know. Maybe if somebody could explain it, please, I would be all ears to hear what the fuck the meaning was. I don't get that. This movie, on the other hand, it has the message of we need to work together. There's a scene, of course, there's all this tension, and they go to camp, and Denzel Washington says, "We're going on a run," because all the practices are ending in brawls. Nobody's getting along. Everybody hates everybody. And they go on a run, a crazy long run. And they get to the end of this run, and Denzel Washington turns around. He says, "You see what's in front of us, guys? It's called Gettysburg. Because you know how many people died here?" And he goes, "We will die out there if we cannot get along in here." And it's this great moment where they all realize that they have to work together. They may not like it at first, but you've got to try new things, and you've got to try to get along if you're going to work as a team. And they start to get along. They start to, work cohesively. And I love all the characters in this. Of course, Superman, Mr. Campbell. There's Superman, Gary Bertier, and then there's Julius Campbell, and they are the two like great defensive linebackers of the team, and they hate each other at first, but then over time they become best friends. And this drives a wedge between them and their other friends. And there's all these things that kind of come with um, this movie. And like I really thought it was well tackled. Of course, I love Kip Purdue's character, Sunshine. He becomes the quarterback after the starter gets hurt, and he's from California, the blonde-haired kid from Cali that can't make the pitch but could throw the ball 90 yards. Love his character. Love Petey, of course, who would go on to be in stuff like Big Fat Liar and Skyline. Just love that. As Scrubs, I can't think. Donald Faison, he's a great actor. He's the running back that keeps fumbling the ball. I just love the entire dynamic. Louis Lastig, the big fat uh, offensive lineman, and he doesn't care at all about any of this stuff. He's not. They tell him, they go, "You're just a light skinned brother." I love that. I love that there's all sorts of sides in this. There's not. Once again, it's funny for a movie that deals with black and white. It's very gray. And that's, I think, another reason why I love Remember the Titans. And I think as the movie grows, there's another message too, where at the end, Julius Campbell says, "Hey, man, I know I'm not perfect. Nobody is. But to this point, this football team, despite all the odds, has had a perfect record. And we have the chance tonight to make them remember the night they played the Titans. And we're going to hit harder, work harder, and go out there and win the championship." And they, of course, do. And it costs Will Patton's character the Hall of Fame. But at the end of the day, Will Patton didn't care about the Hall of Fame. He wanted to earn Denzel Washington's respect. And they hold the football up together as Denzel says, "Hey, you're a Hall of Famer in my book." And I don't know. I like really a lot of the heart this movie has. And I think that the director did a really, really good job directing this. Aiden Boz-Yakin, I believe his name is. I don't know. I think he did a really, really wonderful job. And it really, this is one that it could be a tearjerker towards the end because one of the players gets in a car accident. I won't say who, but it's really, you're heartbroken by the time that happens. It's a really nice kind of build from the hostility to we love each other. Let's go out there and get it. And I don't know. I'm a sucker for movies like this. I really like Remember the Titans. Super underrated flick. Highly recommend to anybody who hasn't seen this. My favorite sports movie, probably. I have another movie that's kind of a sports movie, but I don't. I look at that more as a drama. This is a sports movie. I would say this, Rudy, Hoosiers. That's like my favorite sports movies, but I would say this one stands the tallest. Denzel Washington steals the movie. I love the line, "I'm a winner, and I'm going to win." One of my faves. Remember the Titans. Couple comments. Let's see. Definitely a good movie, very underrated. Remember the Titans was a big part of my childhood. Took a school trip to the local theater to see it for the first time, and we actually took a trip to watch it again in the same. Wow, that's so cool. That's really cool. I didn't see that in the theaters. I actually grew up watching that one on VHS and was very happy to because I thought that was a great movie. Glory Road is good. I like Josh Lucas as an actor, but the problem was it's kind of a poor. It is. I think that's what I felt too when I was like, you're basically just trying to do this, but like at the end completely like we're like no, we do it separate. And I was just like, doesn't that defeat your purpose? Like, shouldn't the purpose be we should come together, work together to come over the top? That Remember the Titans does that. Glory Road doesn't do that. Like, I just thought I don't know. It just completely baffled me when I first saw it. It's a very poor man's Remember the Titans, I thought. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that director never worked again. So I don't know if there was a problem with him, maybe he had a problem with the creative. I don't know. I'd love to know. It says my Wi-Fi's weak. I don't know if I'm slow or anything. Let me know, everybody. Love the fact that Louis Lastig's the man. He has his own podcast now too. Really, really cool guy. Ethan Suplee is also in Mallrats. Great movie. Holy crap, Buzz Yakin directed the film. He wrote The Punisher, and he's one of the writers on From Dusk Till Dawn too. So we'll see. He's got a little superhero in him, a little sports in him, a little horror in him. You gotta love it. Fantastic movie. I love it too. Yeah, for sure. Great film. It's my favorite film. I would agree with that completely. A really underrated one. I don't know. I sat down. I went favorite sports movie, and I looked and I went, you know what? Remember the Titans? Absolutely. Um, moving on to number 12. None other than the second Wes Craven film on this list. It didn't take long, but Nancy won't stop dreaming. But if I forget the fucking tagline. I don't know. It's a Nightmare on Elm Street, goddammit. I was trying to go, because I did the tagline before, but this time I don't have a poster of Nightmare on Elm Street here, so I was trying to go from memory, but I completely fucked it up. But A Nightmare on Elm Street is at the number 12 slot on the list. Another one of my favorite movies, just the great Wes Craven. I think this is his masterpiece, and I think this is where he really came into his own, because before this he was doing great like exploitation movies with no budget, right? Like Last House on the Left, like The Hills Have Eyes, like Deadly Blessing, movies like that, where he took, Deadly Blessing's not an exploitation film, but you know what I mean? Like he took a low budget and he made something, a product out of it. This is where he got the mainstream money, and I think used a lot of those exploitation elements and the things he had learned to his advantage. And I love the scene where, of course, Nancy's in the bathtub and you see Freddy's glove kind of reach towards her. That's in Deadly Blessing with a snake coming through the woman's legs in the bathtub. He ripped off himself. This movie is almost like a tribute to his entire career before this. Thought that was just so cool. Thought that was so cool seeing him being like, this is what I've learned over the years, and I'm going for it. This is the movie where he really goes for the home run, and I think he hit it. Of course, you have Heather Langenkamp as the lead, Nancy Thompson. She does a great job in this. I think that this movie, of course, oh God, what's Tina's name? Back of the, what is her damn name? Oh my God, this is horrible. I love the actress too. She's been in so much stuff. Tell me Tina's name, somebody in the comments. I fucking can't think. Um, love her as an actress. And I think what Wes Craven does so well with this movie is making it scary. This is a truly scary fucking film. There's a couple of the scenes in this that absolutely just fucking make me jump. Amanda Weiss, I beat you to it. Whoever the fuck, if anybody commented, Amanda Weiss, it just finally dawned on me. So I beat you. I remembered. I win. Um, there's some scenes where Nancy's walking in the hallways, and of course you have the "Where's your pass? Screw your pass." And then Freddy's voice, "Hey, no running in the hallways." I love that. That just every time that gets me. And the fact that she has to burn her arm to wake herself up. And Johnny Depp, where'd you get that burn mark? I got it in fucking by English class. I love that fucking classic line. And just some of the scenes where I like the scene where she's dreaming and you see Amanda Weiss's character standing there and you just see this like all this like muck and snakes and bugs and shit. And she kind of runs away from that. She stops, and then Freddy's right behind the pillar to scare her. That opening kill scene with Tina as he's stabbing her and pushing her around the room, and how they shot that from a filmmaking perspective, just how creative that was to have her hit into him and Rod, the scream and the blood and the shot where the shirt rips open, rips down, all this gore pours out, and she's screaming. Just fucking, that's great filmmaking. He took all of those exploitation elements that he mastered with a low budget in movies, like I said, Last House, Hills Have Eyes. And then once it became kind of the studio, of course, New Line Cinema, the house that Freddie built, I just think he nailed it, and I think this is his masterpiece. I really do. A creative film, a film that it's so hard to top in the horror realm. This is probably my fourth favorite horror film of all time. And a lot of people say, "Oh, would you consider that a slasher movie?" It is. There's slashing in it, but to me, the greatest slasher movies, there's so much more than just a slasher movie. The psychology behind this, the idea of you can't go to bed or else you will be killed by this boogeyman, by this man with razor knives for a hand and his burnt face and this Christmas sweater, the top hat, the classic iconic design of Robert Englund's portrayal of Freddy Krueger. Just haunting stuff. And the whole idea of we have to get him out of the dream and put him into reality, and she's setting up the traps and she's thinking, oh, I lost, I failed, I didn't do it. Freddy pops up right behind the bed. Great jump scare. People who don't like jump scares, there are some great ones in this. And I never fail to be horrified, terrified, and just mesmerized by the creativity of the late, great Wes Craven when it comes to his filmography. I look none other than A Nightmare on Elm Street. I think his best film, and I think one of the greatest movies of all time, A Nightmare on Elm Street. That is number 11. Few comments. Let's see. Ethan's not fat anymore. That's true. Yeah, he lost a ton of weight. Looks great. Super happy for him. He's an awesome guy. I would love to start watching his podcast because he's talked about Remember the Titans and his fond memories. I would love to watch that. Nightmare on Elm Street is wonderful. It's totally, I would agree, Craven's best film. I knew it had to be Freddy, very revolutionary slasher long shot. Yeah, Child's Play doesn't get enough credit either. That's another movie. I look at movies that came out after 85 and they don't get the respect in the horror genre. I'm saying they don't get as much respect for some reason as the movies that came out from 80 to 85. I've noticed that. Like the Sleepaway Camp sequels, Child's Play, like those movies don't really get their credit most of the time. I don't know why, but I kind of see it that way. Dude, it scared the suit out of me too. No, but for real, it scared the shit out of me. I think it's I remember watching it with my dad, and he was not one of those people that was like, it's okay. I was a little kid. He wouldn't be one of those kids like, it's okay. He wanted to see you fucking jump and be afraid and shit. Like that was just, he would get the joy out of making me jump. And what he would do, I'd notice like he would click the volume to make it go louder. And I would look and I would be like, oh shit, something's going to happen. And the jump scares in this movie are so well placed that I still go, oh shit, the loud screeching, amazing. And he would just laugh. He'd be like, holy shit, man, you jumping at that. Just and fond memories like that, watching it with my dad and him wanting to make me fucking be scared. It's the little things like that that make me love this movie even more. Even though I'm more of a Jason fan, Nightmare on Elm Street is good. Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, the original is a masterpiece in my opinion. Captain Jack's smoothie scene is pure amazing. Absolutely. Johnny Depp, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the best kills in the movie. I like the opening kill the best, but that Johnny Depp, that scene is iconic. It's sucked into the bed, and then of course filming it in reverse, so it looks like the blood's hitting the ceiling. Genius, man, really genius. Not a big body count film. Again, not like your typical proto slasher. It's so much more. That's why I love it. I think it's a true masterpiece. Love Nightmare on Elm Street. Coming in at number 11, this one was a tie. It was really hard. This is the last tie on here because when I made the list, I had made it, I was set, and I forgot one film. And I was like, this has to be on the list, but I didn't want to bump anything off. So we do have one more tie here. I don't have the movie I forgot, of course. I guess that's why I forgot it. I've got to go pick it up in special edition or something. But it is, before I'll have the physical copy of this one. This is a tie. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is part of this tie. That's the one I don't own. Just one of the best performances ever given by Jack Nicholson. Milos Forman directs that. Just some of the scenes in the group therapy and the supporting cast, Christopher Lloyd, Danny DeVito. I forget the guy who plays the chief, but all of them are just brilliant. And I will say I won't go too far in depth because I don't have it, and I want to get closer to the top 10. We're only at number 11. We're almost 2 hours in. This is crazy. I will say that a movie that never fails to make me smile at the end and almost tear up is the end of this movie where the chief he tells Jack Nicholson, "I'm not as big as you." And he goes, "Chief, you're bigger than a just the chemistry in this, and the scene where the chief actually lifts up, what Jack Nicholson couldn't. And that's another thing when you talk about psychology in films. What I love is the scene in this movie where Jack Nicholson says, "I'm gonna lift this fucking thing off of the ground, throw it through that window, and I'm going downtown to watch the World Series tonight. Who's coming with me?" And he tries and tries, and they all bet against him, and he can't do it. And he walks out of the room before he does. He goes, "At least I fucking tried." And he walks out of the room. It's in that moment where your heart goes out to him, even though he lost, even though R.P. McMurphy loses in this film to the wretched Nurse Ratched. That was one tough son of a bitch, and he tried his hardest. And I love when the chief is able to lift that up and almost say, middle finger to Miss Louise Fletcher, throw the thing out the window. And I love he starts running. They play that amazing music. And I just love all the inmates. They look shocked. And Christopher Lloyd is just laughing, going, "Ah, yeah, go," cheering them on. Every single time I watch that, I tear up and just smile. It's why I love movies. It's great music. It's great acting. It's great storytelling, great psychology, all of that stuff bundled up into one great ending. And as the chief kind of runs off into the distance, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, one of my favorite movies of all time. I feel bad I forgot it, and I feel bad. It's crazy I don't own it. That's one I have to pick that up. I don't know who's put out like the big edition of that. If anybody wants to tell me in the comments, please do tell me. But it's definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. Had to mention it on this list. And the movie it's tied with is none other than my favorite Italian film of all time. I'm talking about none other than Dario Argento's Suspiria. Another movie just like I was talking about before with Mulholland Drive. The first time I saw this, I'll be honest, I had a preconceived notion of what I thought I was going to get, and I didn't get what I thought I was going to get. And I realized that this movie, when it comes to plot and narrative, and Argento in general, most of his films, obviously not all of them. I think Phenomena has a phenomenal story. I love the story of Phenomena. Tenebrae too. But I went into this thinking, oh, what witches? What is this going to be? This movie, it's not for the plot or the story or the dialogue or even the acting. Are all those things fine in this movie? Sure. This is the movie I think I watched the most for the director. I think that this movie is one of the great showcases of a great filmmaker, doing what he loves to do. And Dario Argento, the colors in this film and the spectacle that it creates as you watch this movie, it is the most beautiful horror film ever made. And he was influenced by guys like Mario Bava and films like Blood and Black Lace, just gorgeous films that again were colorful and all this stuff. But again, he was able to make a scary, terrifying film. I think this is a really scary film. The last time I watched it with speakers, and that scene where the dog chews the guy's throat out, that just the entire tension build to that, so wonderful. The scene where the friend of Susie Bannion, she's running through the hallways, they're turning from red to green, ultimately to the blue room, where she falls down in the pit of barbed wire, screams for her life. Just all the tension, the maggots, all the stuff like that, and the absolute kind of you know diminishing of our lead character. She's so tired, she's so weak, all of these things. And the finale of the crazy, stabbing Mother Suspiria in the neck and "we are death," and her friend chasing her, that image, the visuals, all of that stuff just makes Suspiria stand so goddamn tall. One of the best horror movies of all time, a true masterpiece at that, and a movie that really opened up my eyes and I'm glad it did, to Italian cinema. Without this movie, I would never have seen a Lucio Fulci film, and I'm glad because it opened up the door. Oh, what's the Gates of Hell trilogy? What's that? It's a great gateway film to start trying to explore with other countries' horror. And I love this movie for that reason. I think that's so cool. And I watched, of course, a bunch of more of Argento. I watched a ton of Bava over the years. And I never get sick of that stuff. I think it's so cool to see another country's style or flavor when it comes to the genre. And I appreciate Suspiria for that. It really opened my eyes to seeing, hey, maybe the plot isn't the most important thing. Maybe the beautiful, gorgeous visuals, the music and soundtrack and score by Goblin that has haunted me to this day, the lullaby score. La 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 la. You know, just the loud doom. Amazing stuff. That opening scene, that nightmare scene of her trying to catch the cab in the rain, and she can't do it, and she sees people walking through the forests. You can't beat that. That's cinematic, just gold, and that's filmmaking at its best. This is Suspiria. This is the number 11 pick. One of my all-time favorite movies, and probably my favorite Italian film. Absolutely love Suspiria. Ryan's out. Good to see me back. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Really got to see Suspiria here. Great things. You've never seen Suspiria? Wow. I highly recommend you see Suspiria. Again, can open the gateway to so much other great horror that at the time I never realized existed. And I'm glad that it did. Suspiria is good. The Goblin score is really great, and it sucks now. But there's 5 different versions of the band now because the original cat mesmer. That's the thing with all great bands. They never seem to get along, but they made great music at one time, so that's what matters. Suspiria is awesome, probably my top 3 films. I can't get enough of it. Dude, I can't get enough of it either. And I watched it with my good friend Kyle, who had never seen it the last time I watched it. And just, it's funny. Like, I was talking about how my dad, before he liked to see me get scared when we watched Nightmare on Elm Street. When I watched this with my friend, I just seeing his reaction and almost like seeing the mirror image of myself being like, this is something unlike anything I've ever seen before. And just his amazement as it went on, I was like, this is so cool. I just showed him something that he'll never forget. And hopefully we'll experiment into more. I think that's so cool. That's the reason I love movies. It's so interesting to kind of check out what everybody else has got. Really, really cool. I think I'm going crazy. I keep hearing a beeping noise. I don't know. Did anybody else hear it? I don't hear any beeping. I don't know. I don't hear it, my good friend. But we're diving into the top 10 now. We're diving right into it. And the only animated movie on this list, it's right here. The only animated movie on this list. I saw this in the theater at the rightful age. I must have been 5 years old, I believe. 4 or 5 years old. Probably 4, because I have a late birthday. So probably 4 years old when I saw this. And this is another movie. I have a story about a scene that just absolutely blew my mind. This is the only animated movie on the list. This is none other than this movie's celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. That's absolutely fucking crazy. But this is none other than Monsters Inc. from 2001. My favorite animated movie of all time. My favorite, I know I'm a big Pixar fan. I like all the Pixar films. I'm much more a fan of hand-drawn animation. I will say that. Like, I've been huge into Studio Ghibli films. Like, Spirited Away nearly made this list. Of course, movies like Castle in the Sky almost made this list. I know another one that nobody fucking mentions, The Fox and the Hound, almost made this list. Granted, that would be a biased pick because I did grow up with that one. But that's not one of Disney's best efforts. I'll even tell you that. But when I thought, what is your favorite animated film? And I look no further than this because if you think about it, on paper, I'm a huge horror fan. Die Hard. It's my favorite genre. It's my favorite thing to watch in the whole wide world. And here's this kids film that deals with monsters and all these creative like designs and images of monsters and this whole creative idea that kids, their screams contain the power source for their city. And these people are sent to work on a job to make these kids scared so they can provide power for everybody. That's so fucking brilliant, man. So smart. Just a completely original idea. Like, there's no other movie where you go, oh, that, you explain that stuff. That's so goddamn original. There's not any other movie to me that's as original as this. So friggin' smart. John Goodman and Billy Crystal do great as the voices of Sully and Mike Wazowski, of course. Very funny. And then, of course, they come in contact with Boo, who is a child who gets out And of course, all the monsters think that if you're touched by a child, you're infected and you'll die, and all this stuff that can create this whole thing. And the whole movie is Sully and Mike Wazowski trying to get her back to her door. And what that means is your door is like the closet they enter. They have these doors come out and they plug them in. You put a card in, and the door turns red, and you can go in and you're in the kid's closet. And then you can go out and scare the shit out of them. And I remember as a child being like, wow, like look at all this. And I'll never forget the scene that, and you hear guys like Peter Jackson and guys like, John Peters talk about, when I saw King Kong in 1933 and they opened those doors up and they saw King Kong, I was mesmerized. I just at that moment, or people talk about how when, Dorothy opened the door in The Wizard of Oz, and it turned from black and white to color, and we saw the wonderful land of Oz. And then there's another movie on this list that actually had that impact for me, and I'm getting there soon. It's that actually very close to being the next one. Um, for me, my first moment of that, having that moment where I just like literally sat up, eyes bulged, and was just like mesmerized, was the scene towards the end where they get on the doors and they go into the kind of entire door factory. And just seeing all the millions and thousands of doors, that kids from different countries that they would scare and all this stuff. I remember being 4 years old in the theater and being as mesmerized as those people and those scenes and movies that I just mentioned before. Just being like, who the fuck thought of this? How genius is this? And I just love that. I just thought, wow, what a creative film. And Monsters Inc. It mixes horror, it mixes a lot of heart, a lot of friendship. I love the song at the end. They were going for kind of a Toy Story, you have a friend in me. They do the thing in this. The song is "You wouldn't have nothing if I didn't have you," and they have the actors sing it at points. It's fucking like looking back now, it's actually fucking shamelessly trying to rip off Toy Story, which I guess it's from Toy Story, the people that made the Pixar people, so it is what it is. And I know a lot of people like around my age, they'll tell you Finding Nemo, and then like my sister's generation, they'll tell you Toy Story. I'll pick this one right in the middle of those two phenoms, if you will. I don't think you get any better than Monsters Inc. I think it's the greatest animated film of all time, mixing all the things that I love: horror, friendship, comedy, heart, all that stuff. It has everything in it. And I think when it comes to being creative, I think there are few movies as creative as Monsters Inc. Just because I will never forget that moment in the theater. 4 years old, this is just one of the things engraved into my memory, just being like, I love film, just one of those moments where I just got to lay back and go, this is why I love this. Monsters Inc. at number 10. Coming in at number 9. I actually said before Wes Craven was the only duplicate director on this list. I was wrong. I wasn't thinking. There's actually two directors that make this list twice. And this is the first movie on the list that makes that. And it is none other from 1980. I think it's the greatest, at least the greatest Stephen King adaptation of all time. It is none other than Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. I've done a whole show on this. I've talked about this movie to death. I don't want to go uber into it, but again, it's another film where, as like Suspiria, I feel the director is the main star, Stanley Kubrick. Just his shots of the gold room, of the scenes where Nicholson, go check it out. The shot from the floor up of him just banging on the door. Go check it out. Go check it out. See what I mean. Just Nicholson's performance is incredible. The kid's performance, Danny Lloyd, he does a great job. Shelley Duvall, never thought Shelley Duvall did a good job in this film. I always felt she was a little bit, but I know that Stanley Kubrick pretty much ruined her life, sadly. So I don't blame her, and it doesn't detract from the film at all for me. I love Scatman Crothers. I love all the beautiful shots of the hedge maze, and it's getting cold out there, and the just so many images in this that are burned in my head. It's funny, Barry Lyndon, the movie he made before this, it has a lot of shots like that. But when you turn the knob up, because Barry Lyndon is a very dialed down film, This is a film that dials it up to 11 towards the end, a very slow burn, and just doing creepy stuff like having the kid ride his tricycle going from carpet to hardwood, from carpet to hardwood. It's the little things like that that just help build tension. And the two twins and fucking Delbert Grady. If he comes, he's Charles Grady at the beginning, he's Delbert at the end. Very fucking weird. And of course, the July 4th ball, 1921. It's 100th anniversary this year on the 4th. So we'll all cheers to Mr. Jack Nicholson, to Mr. Jack Torrance, who is always the caretaker here. One of the greatest horror movies of all time. My third favorite horror film of all time, and one that I can't get enough of. I don't want to go too in depth. I've done a whole show on this. I've talked about this movie to death. I love it. Is not much I could say more on The Shining. So we'll keep moving on here. Let's say, well, I guess I'm moderator. I will put the link to my film. Awesome. Shining is dope. Absolutely. Shining is probably my second greatest horror movie of all time, next to The Exorcist. That's two great choices, man. I love how atmospheric The Shining is. Apparently, Nicholas Winding Refn works with the cinematographer on set. That's really cool. I thought, didn't John Alcott, wasn't he the cinematographer on this? I could be wrong. I thought John Alcott passed away before Full Metal Jacket. At least I thought. Now I could be wrong. Please let me know. But yeah, man, some of the tracking shots of him in the maze and just it's incredible. I think from a director's standpoint, like with horror movies that where the director is front and center of the reason why the movie works. I think I look no further than this in Suspiria. Like Argento, how he directs Suspiria, Kubrick, how he directs this. Can't beat it. It's truly fantastic. Okay, what's not talked about is Shelley Duvall showed up drunk multiple times to work. Stanley Kubrick did not like that. Now, I'm not defending his actions, but be professional. That goes for both. I agree with that completely. And it's just, I like her performance is just, I don't know. She's just not, I don't know. Fact, she's a sad story. Don't be alcohol post met. Yeah, I do. I feel terrible for her. Just like if you see her now, she looks terrible, and she has this wild thing where she thinks Rob Williams faked his death. Like she's completely fucking lost it. Like it's actually pretty sad. But I don't know. I feel terrible for Shelley Duvall, but it is what it is. That was The Shining though at number 9. We move on to number 8 now, and I was saying before how there are certain scenes like Monsters Inc. where they see the whole factory of doors that just mesmerize me. And this is the other movie that I had a scene where I was just like, holy freaking shit, this is amazing. And I'm talking about none other. And this is one that I hear, it's funny. This movie gets almost universal praise, yet it's never on anybody's top 10. It's never on anybody's top 20. It's a movie that's universally loved, but is it ever really a movie that's universally put over as one of the greats? I would say no, but to be honest, in my opinion, it's one of the greats, and it is none other than Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I know, probably not a lot of people saw that coming, but to me, a magical film and a great story. And I personally, as a kid, I read a lot of Roald Dahl, and I'm heartbroken to hear he was not a fan of this. That he left the screening, I believe. That's really a shame because I love Roald Dahl books. Of course, the Twits, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, the BFG. So many great Roald Dahl books to read. Oh man, what was it? George's Magical Medicine. What the fuck was that called? Oh my god. George's Marvelous Medicine. Was that it? Somebody please fucking tell me. I forget. It's something like that. The Twits, I think, is the funniest book of all time. Like laugh out loud funny book. But enough about Roald Dahl. I could do a whole episode on Roald Dahl novels just because I'm such a big fan. But Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory tells the classic story of Charlie Bucket, the poor kid who can barely afford fucking, I think they literally have like bread for dinner, like that's a big night for them. The poor down his luck kid, and all he wants in the world is to win this golden ticket and take the visit to Willy Wonka's famous chocolate factory. And nobody ever goes in, nobody ever comes out. Always love that that fucking creepy guy. And maybe this movie has some horror vibes to it. Maybe that's why I always loved it as a kid. Like turning one of the kids into a fucking blueberry, insinuating that one of the kids was burned in the fucking furnace, insinuating that this kid would be literally this fucking big for the rest of his life, insinuating that this fucking kid that got sucked into a chocolate pipe that's preposterous because it wouldn't go to the strawberry room, it would go to the fudge room, would be fucking burned alive and fucking melted in chocolate. Maybe that's why maybe that's why it resonates with me. I don't know, but it's magical. I love the stereotypical kids. You have the fat kid, you have the brat, you have the kind of show it off, know it all, and then you have the kid that just can't get enough TV, and then you have the poor kid. And all these five kids, they win the golden tickets, they go to the chocolate factory, and you see one of the great performances by Gene Wilder in this film. And I love the opening scene, and it's great acting psychology from his behalf because he initially had a meeting with Mel Stewart, the director, and he said, "Hey, I have a problem with one scene." He goes, "What's the scene?" He goes, "The opening when you're introduced to my character." He said, "Okay, what's the problem?" He goes, "The problem is that you're having me walk out, wave to everybody like I'm a celebrity. I completely don't agree with that." He says, "Why can't I walk out with a limp?" And he goes, "Expand. What the fuck are you talking about?" He says, "I want to walk out with a limp, and then when I get to the edge, I'll lean forward and do a somersault or a tumble, if you will. I'll land on my feet, and then for the rest of the movie, no one will know whether I'm lying or telling the truth." And that's all Gene Wilder. That was not anybody else's idea for the character. They said, "Oh, come out and wave." That's against the character. And that's why Gene Wilder, I think, is one of the great actors of all time, whether it be Young Frankenstein, whether it be Blazing Saddles, whether it be Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He really took his work seriously. And I love another quote from him: "I love the show, I hate the business." Gene Wilder was a true performer and professional, but man, he hated the business and the side politics. And he would tell you how messed up Hollywood was. In fact, he did in many interviews. But I always loved how serious he took this role and how he knew to get into that character's psychology, or psyche, I should say. I love the scene that mesmerizes me is when they open the door to the chocolate factory. It starts off there, the room gets smaller. No, it's not. He's getting bigger. They fucking go to the door. The door is this small, and let me in there. I'm starving. Easy, Augustus, my friend. There'll be plenty for you to eat. Auf Wiedersehen, arrivederci. He opens the door to the chocolate factory, and especially in high def, these colors pop. 70s, Technicolor, it's just fucking gorgeous. um that scene when I first saw it as a kid, another scene where I leaned for, I was like, look at this fucking. And then the song Pure Imagination that Gene Wilder sings and performs himself, and you wouldn't think, oh, Gene Wilder singing, you'd never. Yeah, I would never think that would work either, but it really, really works. He has a nice voice, and the song is delivered so nicely. Welcome to a world of pure imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling through the world of my creation. All of that stuff. It's just fucking beautiful. And I liked the heart of this movie. And I liked almost the heel turn towards the end where Gene Wilder just snaps. You get nothing. It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You stole fizzy lifting drinks. You get nothing. Good day, sir. Then fucking Jack Albertson, you're a crook. You're a verbal. I said good day. And of course, Charlie returns the everlasting gobstopper. So shines a good deed. You've won, my boy. You've won. They go to the elevator, and if we don't pick up speed, we'll be cut to ribbons. And the whole tense moment of waiting for the glass elevator to smash through the ceiling, and you see the whole town. Just the magic of that, the magic of this movie. It never ceases to amazes me. This is a magical fucking film. All of the songs from the Oompa Loompas, the design of the Oompa Loompas. What do you get when you guzzle down sweets? Eating as much as an elephant eats. Just, it never fucking gets old. And all the kids learn their lesson. They get their song. They get their, no fucking pun intended, they're just desserts. I love that. Of course, the scene with the boat. There's no telling where we're going, which way we're rowing. And the fucking scenes on the side of bugs being fucking squashed and shit. There are some horror elements to this that I love. And I always loved the kind of note it ends on where he says, I want to give the chocolate factory to you. I want to give it to a kid because if I give it to a grown adult, they're going to want to do everything their way. They're going to want to do everything, the way they would do it. He says, if I give it to a kid, I can give them my blessing if they're going to do it and take care of it and love it. Like Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka loved that factory and loved those Oompa Loompas from Loompa Land. There's no such place. Well, you've certainly heard of it if you're a geography teacher. Just magic. Slightly a musical. I've got a golden ticket. All of the numbers work in this. The beautiful colors, great casting, funny when it has to be funny. Of course, with the hunt for the golden ticket, it's just funny. I don't know. I never hear people put this over. Has to be in my top 10. One of my favorite movies of all time. Long live the memory of Gene Wilder and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. One of my favorite films. That is number 9. Let's see. Oh, never mind. I was talking about Eyes Wide Shut. Yes, okay, that makes sense. I was going to say John Alcott passed away, I think. Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory is great. Gene Wilder gives a very heartwarming and creepy performance sometimes. That's the beauty of, they won't be able to tell whether I'm lying or telling the truth. That's the beauty behind that. It's just absolute, it's pure imagination. Nice. Yeah, I love Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Absolute masterpiece. Willy Wonka has something that a lot of films don't have now. That's one simple thing, that magic element. Yeah, it's funny. And I see you mentioned the remake down here. That's what that remake's really missing. Among other things, I think Johnny Depp's horrible in that remake. I literally, if that may be my least favorite performance from a lead actor in any movie. It really might be. And Johnny's a great actor. I don't mean to put him down, but and maybe it was Burton's direction. Maybe it was the script. I don't know how you get an actor that good to fucking perform that bad. I don't know. Maybe his heart wasn't in it. Maybe he was watching too much Michael Jackson videos. I don't fucking know. I don't know how that turned out to be the abomination that it did, but it really did truly lack the magical element. Number one, not doing the same guy as every Oompa Loompa. Horrible. They should be fucking all different. I don't know. That bothered me when I first saw it. The whole aspect of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory being more about Charlie, everybody bitches about that. And then, of course, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is more about Willy Wonka and his daddy issues. I get the angle. It's not horribly done, but it is at the same time. Like Christopher Lee was his dentist dad, and he moves to the middle of fucking Antarctica. Like, what the fuck? He just has a house in the middle of fucking bumblefuck nowhere, and they take the glass elevator. What the fuck? Like, what are you doing? I don't understand the end of that movie at all. And he doesn't recognize his own son. He recognizes him by his fucking teeth. Oh, Willie, this is your fucking bicuspid. Shut the fuck up. Fuck Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. What in the hell? Holy shit, man. I don't know. I hate that goddamn remake. I can't. The changing Violet's. Oh, wait a minute. No, it wasn't Violet. It was Veruca Salt. They changed hers from she was a bad egg to back to the book where she's a bad nut. I don't like that. I like how they changed it. She's a bad egg. You never heard anybody say, "Oh, she's a bad nut." She's a bad egg. You're a bad egg. You hear that. I've heard that. You don't hear the other. But personally, I can't fucking stand Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I just don't. I don't know. I hate that movie. Tears when he stops him at the end. Absolutely. And that final line of what he says something like, "What happened to the man that suddenly got everything he ever wanted? He lived happily ever after." Just amazing. They hug, embrace, and that score. Come with me and you'll be just amazing. Yeah, that remake, man. Holy shit. The Rock? What the fuck? Could you imagine that? If you smell what the work is cooking. That would be fucking really bad. Actually, it would have been better than Johnny Depp just because it would have been fucking like somebody drugged me. The remake is good. Bro, I tried. I've given that movie 2 or 3 chances, and every fucking time I get fucking angry. And especially that fucking scene that doesn't have to be in. It should have been cut out of the idiot who had his castle made of chocolate, and then it fucking melts because he's in the middle of the fucking desert. Holy shit, I hate that movie. Oh my god, I could write a novella of how much I hate Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Piece of shit movie. Deep is a creepy Willy Wonka. It's hard to like that character. Depp. Okay, Depp's a yeah, totally. I need to rewatch this. Where was Suspiria at? That's my number one. Much respect, Grande. Oh, dude, I had this at number 11. Where the hell is the blue? I have Blu-ray right here. Number 11, tied with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, one of my favorite movies of all time. The gateway to me falling in love with Italian horror and all sorts of other European horror, Mexican horror, Canadian horror, all these different countries that I was able to, get that gateway kicked open and really explore horror. Where's Nate at? Where's the explorer of horror at? John Steele's in the house, dude. I've returned. I'm back and better than ever, brother. And I'm blessed, man. Glad you could join this stream tonight. Rock on, my friend. Much respect to you. You guys tell. Oh shit. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm sorry. I didn't see your comment. I didn't mean to go on full rant mode. I hate that movie. The remake just doesn't have the magic element because people aren't magical anymore. I think you could still make a magical film. I just think like CG is so much less magical than me. Like to a lot of people, Avatar was a magical film. I just didn't. The CG ruined it for me. It wasn't as magical, and at the end of the day, it's a movie just like fucking Fern Gully. Like fucking Fern Gully is the same fucking movie as Avatar, and I think that movie's more magical. Like I don't know, just Avatar, it lacked that for me. But for some people, they just love. I remember going to school and people talking about it, being like that movie, just not my cup of tea personally. The Rock is Willy Wonka. I kind of want to see that film. Dude, yeah, what the that would have been very fucking funny. I don't know, man. Post the top 15. Can I get mad at your number one choice? Oh, dude, that's awesome. I have to watch your top 15 for sure. Kubrick Lover 1972. Rock on, good brother. Thank you for joining the stream tonight. Hello to you too. Let's see. You can never get more real than CGI. It's just yeah, that's the problem for me, man. That's why I have a hard time finding that magic now because it's so few and far between. Even in animated films, like I like hand-drawn movies, and going back and watching all these Studio Ghibli films, I've really been able to delve into the magic of those movies a lot more. Castle in the Sky was such a magical film for me. I had never seen it until I bought it on Blu-ray, and I thought, wow, how beautiful is this? I was blown away by Castle in the Sky by Hayao Miyazaki, one of my favorite Japanese anime filmmakers, probably my favorite. But moving on, we'll move on to number 7 here. This is from 1986, and it's funny. I said before, I have a bit of a conundrum here. I said that The Shining was the greatest Stephen King adaptation, but I forgot this movie was on the list. No, I'm just kidding. But I always forget this is a Stephen King adaptation, even though I have read the short story a couple times. From 1986, this is none other than Rob Reiner's Stand By Me. Probably, and I'll double check here, arguably one of my favorite films of the 80s. This is just one of those magical movies for me too. We're using the word magical. And when I say that, I mean more so with the cast. Of course, you have Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, Jerry O'Connell, and of course, he's not on the cover here, Mr. Kiefer Sutherland, right before Lost Boys, I believe. And this is the simple story of 4 friends going on a trip to see a dead body during the last 3 days of their summer. And this, for me, just has so much to say about people, about friendships, about relationships with your friendships. And like, that's why I love this movie. And I love some of the scenes where, they're friends in the beginning of this, and towards the end, they're walking back, and Will Wheaton says, hey, over the years, we kind of drifted apart. And sometimes that happens with friends. And there's that line at the end, God, does anybody have friends like they did when they were 12 or when they were 10? God only knows. And I just love the four of these actors. Their chemistry is fantastic. River Phoenix almost steals the film. He's Chris Chambers. He's, the bad boy who stole the milk money at school, and he's going through all this hard time. And Will Wheaton, he's in this. His brother had passed away. And he was this big football star, and all these people kind of looked down upon Will Wheaton because he was the boring brother, for lack of a better word. Corey Feldman's character had this crazy father who was in the military and burned his ear on a stove, stuff like that. And then Jerry O'Connell's just the warm, loving fat kid that comes along for the ride. And just some of the scenes of them in the junkyard. And what I heard was chomp balls, and running over the fence and stuff. And the scenes of them singing lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, lolly, and then getting fucking serious and talking about real life shit. And my parents wish I would have died instead of me, getting to deep, dark, personal shit like that. It's deep for a film starring four young actors. It gets very deep at times, and I like the comedy. I like the humor. Of course, the fucking lard ass scene, of course, that's magical. But I think these four actors and their chemistry. And my favorite scene of the movie is them just talking around the campfire. If I have one food to eat for the rest of my life, that's easy. Cherry Pez. And the fucking this, you know, Mickey's a mouse, Donald's a duck, Pluto's a dog. What the fuck is Goofy? And then at first they're like, dude, Goofy's a dog, man. And then one goes, no, he's not. He fucking wears a hat and drives a car. And then fucking goes back to Jerry O'Connell and goes, that's fucking weird. What the fuck is Goofy? Never fucking fails to just make me just crack up laughing, that scene. I love the scene and how Rob Reiner directs it. Rob Reiner at that time was, in my opinion, the hottest filmmaker in Hollywood. This is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, Princess Bride. Fucking, the guy couldn't do any wrong until he made North in 1994, which is a total piece of shit. But Stand By Me, to me, is like the ultimate like coming of age 80s film. And like every time I watch it, I just absolutely fall in love with it. And I always love the end scene where they encounter Kiefer Sutherland and the other kind of gang members. And I'm gonna get you, Chambers. And I can't say the line; I'd be canceled. I'm gonna get you, Chambers. And then of course Will Wheaton pulls the gun on him, and there's that whole standoff, just really tension filled, but it's amazing. And I love what it has to say about friends and friendship. I think it's a movie that made me think a lot because over the years in our lives, we have a lot of friends that do come and go, and that's sad. But this movie kind of says, hey, that's reality. It's kind of the way it is. Friends will come in and out of your life, but man, when you really click and when you're young and when you're going on adventures and the world is yours, uh, friendship between four people and these four people and specifically can be really entertaining and special to watch. And that's why I love Stand By Me. Stand By Me on the top 10 list. Let's see. John Steele, LOL. Stand By Me is a really good. It's like the Goonies style venture, but for adults. Yeah, I like Stand By Me a lot. I'm a huge fan. The Goonies is a fucking great movie too. Monster Squad's a lot of fun. Hey John, oh he's saying hi to everybody. I'm guessing Lucky, in fact, the longest friend. We're still friends to this day. See, that's so cool. See, and I think everybody has that long term friend, but sometimes there are people that will come in your life. Like so many people in high school I used to hang out with on a weekly basis, don't talk to anymore. But it's still nice to know that like when I was sick with all this stuff in COVID and in the hospital, a lot of those people that I hadn't spoken to in years texted me and said, hey man, I'm pulling for you. That's so nice. Like it's nice to know that people still care and people don't have to reach out, but they do. And I don't know. I think this movie has a lot to say about stuff like that, and I think it's pretty cool. Always want to go on an adventure like this. Goonies as well. Goonies never say die. AJ, I gotta love it. I couldn't get into Stand By Me. I don't like the song. Okay, that's interesting. I've actually never heard somebody say they didn't like Stand By Me. So that's very, very interesting. The song, I can go either way. I'm kind of with you there. Sometimes I really like it. Sometimes I'm like, something else. Rob Reiner did North. What happened, dude? I don't know. I don't know if he had a brain aneurysm. I don't know if like he got divorced. I don't fuck. North is like one of the shittiest fucking movies from a great director of all time. Um, but he was on a perfect streak until that movie. Like that, North just his fucking career just went downhill until he made movies like The Bucket List, movies like that. Definitely for sure. Don't like the song. I don't hate the song, but I don't know if I love the song either. Like it's a good song. Definitely. I like Lollipop better, but I don't know, it's just me. Um Getting into the next film, we're almost at the top 5. We're coming in at number 6 here. This one of my favorite movies of all time. I know it's my good buddy horror boy Nate. This is his favorite movie of all time, and is none other than Sylvester Stallone and John G. Avildsen's Rocky from 1976. Of course, the great underdog story of all time. To me, the greatest underdog story of all time. Sylvester Stallone, the whole story behind this film, how he wrote it out on literal paper, with a pen, pencil, whatever, and he wanted to sell the film, but only if he could be the star. And the story behind this movie is just as inspiring as the movie itself. But I don't know. I don't know if I go so deep in depth in the Rocky. We all know Rocky, but of course, it's the young up and coming guy that's fighting for little money. He's fighting Spider Rico, winning by DQ and stuff, being called a bum by his manager, trying to find love with this girl at the local pet store. And all of a sudden, this guy's small life becomes that much bigger because Apollo Creed has challenged him to challenge. Well, Apollo Creed has challenged him to challenge for the heavyweight championship of the world. Apollo Creed versus the Italian Stallion. Sounds like the damn monster movie. Love Carl Weathers in this. Carl Weathers in general, just a great fucking actor. And of course, Sylvester Stallone writing this movie, getting John G. Avildsen to direct. And this movie it's funny, it really does have a different look than a lot of the other Rocky films. It's not as polished. And I think that's why it works. And the whole message of, it's not important to win. At the end of the day, it's more important to go the distance. And of course, the Bill Conti score and the training, and that magical scene of Rocky running up the steps and raising his arms, even though he's by himself and he knows that he's this guy that has no chance. I love this scene where he goes late night before the fight and he says, the picture's wrong. I'm wearing a white shorts with a red stripe. And the guy that owns that kind of orchestrates the thing, he goes, it doesn't really matter, does it? And I love that scene where Stallone goes back and goes, I can't do it, can I? But if I can go the distance and I'm still standing, I'll prove to myself that I do belong. And it's really that whole final scene. Adrian, Paulie pulls up the rope. Hey, where's your hat? I love you. I love you too. Just a really that love story and the story of an underdog that became something more. A rebel, a maverick that went against the grain and became something more than anybody ever thought that he could by going the distance with the greatest of all time, Apollo Creed. Rocky's a magical film, and I think that Rocky is one of those movies that stands the test of time. Never get sick of Rocky. I love the entire franchise. Rocky 2 is one of the best sequels of all time. I love Rocky 3, Eye of the Tiger, Mr. T, Clubber Lang, one of the great heels in the history of cinema. Clubber, do you have any predictions for tonight's fight? Pain. Mr. T just killed that performance. And of course, Rocky 4, Ivan Drago, one of the best 80s. It's almost like a fucking future length music video. Just love Rocky 4. Rocky 5, total speed bump. Rocky Balboa, masterpiece. I love the final Rocky film. And the Creed movies, couldn't care. I hated the first one, didn't bother to see the second, so I'll be honest. But I absolutely love Rocky and the entire series. The original is my favorite, and it's number 6 on my list. Let's see. Of course, Rocky reviews this movie, The Man Who Kicked COVID's Ass. Hell yeah, man. I went the distance with COVID, and I got to celebrate at the end, man. Absolutely. Stand By Me is like a masterpiece of a song. All right, I'm sorry. I think it's a good, I don't mean to bury the song. I apologize. I think it's an okay song. I don't know. Not my favorite song in the world. The movie, one of my faves. into the top 5. We're there. 2.5 hours in. This has got to be the longest graveyard. It's close. I don't know. I don't know if there's definitely never been a 3-hour graveyard. Will there be tonight? No, I don't know. I'm not pushing for it. But I want to make you a t-shirt that says I kick COVID's ass. I would like that. I have they gave me a plaque before, well, not a plaque, but like a little thing, and it says like COVID warrior. And I hung it up in my room. I liked that. And they had a bunch of people, tell me it's going to be okay. And they gave me a little stone that said strength. It's a long time, man. It was a long battle, but thankfully I got to go the distance, and thankfully I'm still standing just like Rocco. Very blessed to say that. But going into the top 5 now, this is the nitty gritty. These are my 5 favorite movies of all time. And it starts off with a movie that just made me a massive fan of this entire franchise. A movie, again, that I remember renting with my father in a Hollywood video because I was a late bloomer to these movies. And I remember they didn't have the first one; they only had the second one and the third one. And I went, you know what? I want to rent this movie. I'm gonna check this out. What's all the hullabaloo about? And it's none other than Star Wars, not Episode 5. I'm talking about Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. The movie that made me fall in love with the Star Wars movies, and the movie that I just absolutely remember being a kid, just being like, wow, like this is fucking great. Granted, this was later in life. I was maybe 10, 11 when I started, a lot of kids started a lot younger. Of course, I was watching shit like Taxi Driver and fucking Last House on the Left. Weird, I know, but this was my introduction to the series, and just all the shit that went on from a kid's perspective, like, this little creature Yoda and talking about the Force, and Luke couldn't lift the X-wing with the Force, but at the same time he fucking uses the Force and size matters not, and all the fucking one-liners, and the odds of just avoiding the asteroid, whatever, to 1. Never tell me the odds, and I love you, I know. Just all the great lines in this, and Obi-Wan has taught you well, but you are not a Jedi yet. Just, oh man, I remember just going absolutely fucking berserk when I first watched this, and just being like, wow, I get the hype of Star Wars for sure. Just, oh man, I love this movie. Of course, I love the whole cast. Harrison Ford as Han Solo, Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian, the voice of James Earl Jones as Darth Vader. Just amazing fucking acting in these movies. Great direction by this one was not directed by George Lucas. It was Irvin Kershner, who I thought he did a great job. Also directed RoboCop 2, which I know Ty Junebug Films. I caught that review. Very, very good review on his channel. And I agree with him. Underrated sequel. This movie, I just love it. It's a fucking spectacle. It's everything like a big budget sci-fi action movie should be. The scene at the end, the lightsaber battle between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, is just absolutely fucking intense as hell. And of course, they're battling. Vader gets pissed off and chops off Luke's arm. I never expected that at the end. I thought Luke was going to win, just like how every good guy always had won in the movies I had seen before that. But here was this movie where the bad guys kind of won. And I liked that dynamic, and it made me look forward to Return of the Jedi. How do they end this? How is Luke going to come back from having his arm cut off? Are they going to save Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt? It's one of those movies. It's such a great movie. It's setting up the next film too. And all the stuff in this, the music of the Empire, fucking amazing. The battles on Hoth, the giant fucking walkers, and flying around them to get them to trip and then shooting them down. I loved the snow planet. I loved the musky Dagobah, where we find the great Jedi warrior named Yoda. The city in the clouds, Cloud City, of course. Bespin, as it's better known as, the city actual. This beautiful city in the clouds, and just all of these just amazing. Do or do not. There is no try. Is the dark side stronger? No, it's not. there is another, and a little bit of a hint of, oh my God, is there somebody other than Luke that Yoda is talking about here? It's just great stuff. I think this is one of the best movies when it comes to big budget spectacle movies. I, I look no further than The Empire Strikes Back. It's the movie that made me a Star Wars fan. One of my favorite film series. I absolutely adore the original trilogy, and I know this will be unpopular. I like the sequel, the prequels. I'm sorry, the sequels I don't like. The prequels I really do like. I think this is the one though that really got me started, and absolutely adore The Empire Strikes Back. That is fittingly for episode 5 at number 5. Pretty crazy. Got a bunch of comments here. Let's see. RoboCop 2 is underrated. Yeah, totally. You have learned much, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet. Impressive, most impressive. Thinks he's got him in the carbonite. Oh my God, dude! It's just, I am your father. That whole, I remember being a kid being like, wait, what? Like, I was confused because I didn't see I didn't see episode 4 or the original Star Wars, if you will. Oh, and cool thing about this limited edition, I know they don't go for too much money, but on this bonus disc, you can watch the theatrical cut. So not the cut that George Lucas fucked with and like changed all the stuff and added CG. I thought that was cool. That's why I had this edition. It's actually full screen, but I got it for dirt cheap, and I was like, you know what? I would like to watch the editions that nobody screwed with. That's just personally. Well, that's a great thing about Empire Strikes Back. Everybody loses, but you got to go. Absolutely. Because that is a great message in life. In the boxing ring, you will get knocked down, but you are the only one that decides if you're going to get up and keep fighting. Absolutely. It's all about will, and it's all about heart. Let's see, Cooper Lover. Obi-Wan never told you. Oh my God, yeah, I know. It's so well done. Well, the original script, Obi-Wan was the bad guy who kills Anakin's father. Very interesting. Father and son. I'll never join you. If you only knew the power of that toxic. Great stuff. Great. Empire Strikes Back, one of my favorite movies. On to number 4. I was saying before how Pamela Springsteen in the Sleepaway Camp films is my favorite performance from an actress. That is true. I don't think there's another performance out there by an actress that is better than that one. But if there was any other performance that I could say is as good, if not better, from an actor, it would be none other than this one. This is from 1988. It is directed by the late, great Penny Marshall, who I think is the most underrated filmmaker of all time. Made films like this, Awakenings, A League of Their Own, and it is none other than Tom Hanks in Big. This is from 1988. This is the actual special edition of this. Really, I highly recommend. It says try me there. It used to play Heart and Soul when you opened it. Now I don't know why it doesn't. I don't know if it just broke or what, or if I dropped it. I don't know. But it's pretty cool. It comes with a little bit of some special stuff like the Zoltar machine card. Really cool. Like, oops, I just fucking dropped it. Hold on. And it says your wish is granted. I wish I was big. This is one that probably a lot of people are like, how is this on the list? Really? I think this is a really underrated film, and I think a lot of people kind of overlook this one, and people talk more about Forrest Gump, Philadelphia, when it comes to Tom Hanks, The Green Mile, even films. Probably this gets more love than The Terminal, but Castaway. There's so many Tom Hanks films that get more love and appreciation than Big. And this was, I believe, his first Oscar nomination. So this was really the movie that put him on the map as being one of the big dogs. And I think it's one of the best movies of all time. Of course, it stars Tom Hanks, and initially it's a kid playing his character, and he's angry that he's small and he wants to go on the big rides and he wants to date girls, and he basically wants to grow up and grow up fast. And he sees the Zoltar machine. He makes a wish that he can be big. And inevitably he wakes up and he's in a 30-year-old Tom Hanks's body. And he and his buddy Billy, they kind of try to figure out what to do. They go to New York City, they get him a job, and the movie kind of just plays out from here. There's a love story with Elizabeth Perkins' character. But what I love about this and why I think this is a masterpiece of a movie, there's a few things. One is, of course, I said Tom Hanks' performance. And two, its message of never lose your sense of wonder no matter how old or young you are. And sometimes it takes a child to point that message out. Um, Personally, for me, I've noticed as I've gotten older, there are a lot of people I've come into contact with that are older, and I don't mean old like, I don't mean ancient or anything, just even my age, mid 20s, late, early 30s, whatever, older, 25 or older, whatever, that are jaded and really lose their sense of humor apart. And I always love that line in The Breakfast Club where Ali Sheedy says, when you grow up, a part of your heart dies. I believe that. I believe that happens to a lot of fucking people. I don't know, somewhere along the line, they go from being the nice, warm, loving child in all of us to this kind of jaded person who looks at everything in a negative light and the glass half empty mentality. And Tom Hanks kind of enters that world in this movie. Elizabeth Perkins' character, she's sort of a whore and she wants to be taken advantage of. And he doesn't do that. He's like, let's play board games. Let's jump on the trampoline. Let's sleep in the bunk beds. I'll sleep on top, you sleep on bottom. And she's like ready to try to get all sexy for him and stuff. And he jumps on the top and gives her a glow in the dark ring. Oh, in case you get lost at night. The sense of wonder of a child can really open even the most jaded adult's eyes to the wonders of being a kid and the wonders of being oblivious to a lot of things. Because Tom Hanks, there's a lot of points in this. I don't get it. The John Hurt's character. I don't get it. What, you want to play with a building? Why would anyone want to play with a building that turns into a robot? What about a prehistoric transformer that could pick up a car and crush it in his hand? And oh, that's brilliant. Let's make him vice president of the company. And they do. Funny stuff. I love when he's in the toy store with Robert Loggia and they play Heart and Soul on the piano. One of my favorite scenes in cinematic history. Just these two guys playing, and they didn't do doubles. They did it for real, played it for real on this ginormous piano. Really fun to watch. And just I think this movie had a really, no pun intended to the Heart and Soul song, has a nice heart to it, has a nice message to it. And like I was saying before, ways I like to live my life. I like to live my life just like Hanks and Big. To me, like it's just the obliviousness, the naiveness, and a lot of people now they consider that bad, you know. And I'm not saying you want to be oblivious and naive to everything. Obviously, you're going to want to think for your own thoughts, but I think people do that almost too much sometimes, and they don't enjoy the little things, and they don't take the time to, enjoy today. Like for me, tomorrow has enough worries for itself. I want to enjoy today, not thinking about tomorrow or a week from now. I'm thinking about today and enjoying it. And Big is one of those movies that I think drives that message home. Absolutely love this movie. I think Tom Hanks does a great job. Penny Marshall, I think, nails this as a director. In my opinion, the most underrated director of all time. Made movies like Jumpin' Jack Flash, Big, like I said before, Awakenings, A League of Their Own. Can't beat Penny Marshall. You can't beat Tom Hanks. Can't beat Big. Well, only these next three movies can. But love this one. Absolutely think it's a great little film. And my favorite Tom Hanks performance. Probably my favorite performance from any actor, male actor in a film. That is number 4. On to the top 3. We got a couple. Let's see. John Steele, Divorce Vader. Absolutely. I love Big. Cannot imagine the original. Yeah, I read De Niro. I read Williams. It's weird. They tried it with Robin Williams with that movie Jack, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. I gotta be honest. That just came off as fucking sad and weird. I didn't really like that film. I got the message of it, but Big does it much better, and it did it before that. And Hanks did a much better job. And that kills. Robin Williams and Kurt Russell are my favorite 2 actors of all time. So it kills me to say that. Don't think I like Hanks better or there's any bias there. That's a completely unbiased statement for me because I like Robin Williams way better as an actor. But Tom Hanks did a better job in that specific, role versus role, if you will. I think we're all kids at heart, being an adult, but learn to just have fun and enjoy. Exactly. It is about that. Man, Sherry, who is a living angel, the best way to describe her, took me to the toy store. I got to see that piano every time I see this movie. Oh my God. Well, rest in peace, Aunt Sherry. Absolute angel. I agree with you, man. That's so cool. See, I love having memories like that, and seeing this movie, can remind you of the good times you had with her like that, and that means a lot. Um, we're into the top three. We're there. We got the top three, man. I don't know. Does anybody predict this? I don't know. I'm sure everybody knows my number one. I'd be very surprised if there's somebody who doesn't know my number, that knows me that well. But I'm sure, I don't know. Maybe we'll open some eyes with these. Coming in at number three, it's my third favorite film of all time. It's my second favorite horror film of all time. It's the dark, idyllic summer afternoon drive that got turned into a nightmare and became forever known as Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Um, Again, what can I say? One of the best movies of all time. Lightning in a bottle. I really always like, to me, when I hear lightning in a bottle, I hear anybody say that statement referring to anything. Um, that's to me uh, what I think of when I think of this movie. This is lightning in a bottle. It was the right cast, the right director, the right time. It was just everything worked out perfectly in this perfect cohesive unit, and you get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And if like somebody would ask me if there were 5 films you could put in a time capsule and they'd be discovered 100 years from now, only 5 films from today, what is it, April 8th of 2021, from the first movie that was ever made. If I could only pick 5, this would be one of the movies in the time capsule for sure, because everybody should experience the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think, for my money, it's close to, if not the scariest movie ever made. Um, just the absolute raw grittiness of it, and the fact that there's really no music, and Edwin O'Neill as the hitchhiker, like a demented James Franco almost. Franklin, come on, Franklin, it's gonna be a fun trip. If I have any more fun today, I don't think I'm gonna be able to take it. Um, the classic tracking shot of Terry McMinn's perfect ass in the red shorts, walking to the door, walking to her fate, hanging her on the pole, but we don't see it on the hook. The whack with the hammer, that's twitching, pull in, slams that door. Horrifying. The dinner scene. Woo! Banging the fucking things on the close up on the beautiful eyes of Sally Hardesty, aka Marilyn Burns. May she rest in peace. Almost everybody associated with this movie has sadly passed on. Tobe Hooper, Gunnar Hansen, Marilyn Burns. It's so heartbreaking. Jim Seedow. So many of them have passed, and I'll never forget the first time I saw this movie. It was a Saturday morning, and I was so excited for breakfast. And I remember when it ended, I said, I don't want breakfast anymore. I don't. I was so shocked by what I had just watched. But I knew that it'd be, one of those movies that over time would become one of my favorites, and it really, really has. I can't say enough about this movie. I think it's one of the greatest films of all time. And I remember, I'll never forget, a few months ago, my friend Kyle called me, and he said, I'm in the car, I'm arguing with somebody. I said, who are you arguing with? He goes, JP. And I was like, JP? I was like, what the fuck happened? He goes, he's arguing The Godfather is better than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He's like, what do you think? And I said, give me the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Of course, I'm going TCM over The Godfather. That's just me, but I don't know. Absolutely love this movie, of course. And to me, the ending, uh, my favorite, probably one of my favorite endings to any film. Of course, the hitchhiker character slicing her up. The truck driver, random truck driver, who's the hero of the movie, runs him over. Ed O'Neill fucking runs out, throws the wrench at Leatherface. He saws his leg. Sally gets in the car, drive away. That iconic image of her banging on the window and screaming, covered in blood. And then Leatherface does his dance, and we fade to black. Lightning in a bottle. One of the greatest movies of all time. I really, truly never get enough of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A perfect film. To me, one of the top 3 movies ever made. Specifically, number 3. Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. One of my faves. Let's see. A lot of stuff on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Fuck yeah, hell yeah. Is that number one behind me? No, that is not number one behind me. I don't know. I definitely think you're more new to my channel, so maybe you won't know number one. So nobody spoil it for him, please. I adore Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Tobe Hooper directed the hell out of that film. Definitely my top 5 films of all time. Yeah, it's his masterpiece. It's really. I remember. I'll never forget this too. Me and Don years ago we did the March Madness, and it came down for me, The Shining and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he was like, "Oh, of course you're gonna pick The Shining." Like I think he was like, "Of course," like rolled his eyes. And I picked the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I think I won some of Don's respect over in that moment. I remember he was like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." I was like, "I think that movie is that important and that great to, especially American filmmaking. I think it's the most. I think it's arguably the most important horror film ever made. It's up there for sure." Well, Texas Chainsaw Massacre proves what you can do on a small budget, create something that terrifies an audience, even if it was funded by the mob. Absolutely. That's a one sheet I would love to have one day, like the mob one with the mob thing on the back. I know that goes for fucking stupid money. That's like $800 to $1,000 easy. And that's even without it being signed. And there's nobody really left from the movie to sign it, which is even more sad. I saw Joe Bob Briggs introduce Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the Alamo Draft House in New York. Dude, that's amazing. That's so cool. I love Joe Bob. Really cool. He's not a personal friend, but we've actually back when I had Twitter, we spoke a few times. Really, really cool. Love Joe Bob via DM. He really, really cool. We talked about Texas Chainsaw and the Next Generation. Actually, I still have the fucking screenshot of the message because he thinks that's the best horror film of the '90s, which is fucking crazy. But yeah, I gotta love Joe Bob. Gotta love TCM. I saw it on 35 millimeter too about a couple years ago. Best 35 millimeter screening I ever saw. The scene where Franklin's rolling down the hill. Oh my God, he's trying to take the piss. I think TCM is Joe Bob's favorite. I think TCM is Joe Bob's favorite film. I don't know why I couldn't say that. Gunnar Hansen saw my dude. That's really cool. That's absolutely awesome. Every time people abbreviate TCM, yeah, no, I do too. It was shot on 16 millimeter. Very interesting. Ed Gein, serial killer TCM was based on. Yes, that I knew. Moving on, number 2 on the all-time list. There's only 2 spots left, and these two, like, it's really hard, like my number one favorite is my number one favorite, but you can really make a argument to me for this next one being at the number 1 slot. And is another from 1971. It's this director's second appearance on the list. It is none other than Malcolm McDowell in Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. One of my faves, a bit of the old ultra violence. There was Alex. That was me and my 3 droogs. I could fucking quote this entire movie from pretty much beginning to end. And that's impressive. This is a long fucking film. I also love the book by Anthony Burgess, especially the different ending than this movie has. The stuff with Alex's son, just really interesting. And none of that, he doesn't even have a son in this. Like, none of that happens. But one of those films I'll never forget, and this is funny enough, has this kind of connection to my grandmother. I rented this at the library years ago. I was really young, but I rented this because they had these old school like lists where the greatest movies of all time, and this was always like sort of near the top. And I was like, that sounds interesting. A Clockwork Orange. What the fuck is that about? And the answer I truly was not prepared for, but I think this is a great movie. I think this is a masterpiece. Everything about it just absolutely blows me away. The colors, the sets, the absolute fucking crazy violence and themes in this, and the sexual overtones, and the colors, and the use of classical music, the use of Beethoven. And one of my favorite scenes in film history, in similar vein to Last House and Cannibal Holocaust, that impalement scene, is the Singing in the Rain scene, where Alex and his droogs, they break in to this writer's house and they rape his wife right in front of him. And what else does he sing but one of the most pure songs of all time, Singing in the Rain? And while he's raping this man's wife in front of him. And it was in that moment where I was like, Stanley Kubrick's a fucking genius. And that happens also with, of course, Full Metal Jacket. At the end, all of this horror that they had just went through, all the friends they had lost, the female sniper, all the burning buildings behind them. What are they singing? Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse. In a world of fucked up shit, Stanley Kubrick, let's sing a happy song. I love it. And singing in the rain during a rape scene. Holy, I remember being like, oh my God. But just absolutely wild. And I love the themes and messages in this of trying to turn a bad guy good. And the priest comes in and says, if he ceases to choose, he ceases to be a fucking man. It's better, in a lot of ways, the message is it's better for a man to choose evil than to be forced to be good, because if he ceases to choose, he ceases to be an actual living human being. And I always thought, what an amazing message to have. And I think Malcolm McDowell's performance as Alex DeLarge is just wonderful. He does a great, great job in this. Actually, had the pleasure to meet him. A really, really nice guy. Didn't get his autograph, but I did get a photo op with him. Really, really, absolutely awesome guy. And I don't know, I love this movie. I think it's funny when it has to be funny. I think it has some pretty horrific moments. I think the use of music in this film, I love the score, the use of color. Uh, it's just one of my favorite like midnight movies, because this blew up on the midnight movie scene back when it came out, and so much so that people were like rioting, people were like inspired by the movie, and Kubrick had to ask it to be forced to be pulled from theaters. That's how fucking big this movie was when it initially came out. It was so popular, and almost to a negative extent. But I love it, and I love how this movie kind of comes full circle. Like, all the people that were with him in the beginning kind of turn up stabbing him in the back once he's cured, if you will, and the whole kind of finale in the writer's house where it comes full circle. And at first, the writer sees him as a victim. Oh, you're a victim. They ruined you. The system ruined you. But then when he realizes what has been done to his wife by Alex, and immediately his concern changes, and you see how big of a hypocrite and a phony that writer is. That's really interesting storytelling to get into something like that. And something that, a theme that's lost on a lot of other filmmakers. But I thought that was really, really smart to have this guy look at him as a victim only until he found out the personal grief that he was caused by Alex. Absolutely genius. One of my favorite movies of all time. I think Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece. I am a huge Kubrick guy. I mean, whether it be this, The Shining, Space Odyssey, I will to the day argue that Lolita is one of the best movies ever made. I know people fucking, for whatever reason, always put that at the bottom of his list. I love Lolita. I think that's a great movie. Of course, The Shining, I already mentioned, Full Metal Jacket, Barry Lyndon, Eyes Wide Shut. It's hard. The Killing, Paths of Glory, so many great movies Stanley Kubrick made. And this just happens to be my favorite. In the 70s, colorful, has some crazy ass elements to it. Of course, this is my favorite, but I can't help it. I don't know. I do like a lot what it has to say, too. I think it's very important. This one just really did it for me. I love Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange, the number 2 movie on the list. All right, comments, and then number 1. We're here. Let's see. Mark said, how excited are you for Clockwork Orange being rebooted for Space Jam? What? I don't even understand. See, Mark, you work in mysterious ways. I don't understand. Oh, no. What is that? Birds. Birds number 1. What the hell? What is that? I don't even know. Birds? And you saying Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds? I'm so baffled. AJ's guessing Birds. I don't know. I thought he knew. I'm shocked he doesn't know my favorite film of all time. Mick Jagger was originally considered to play Alex. That wouldn't have worked. That absolutely would not have worked. Malcolm McDowell or nobody. The chair torture scene makes me a little queasy when I see it. Those oh my God, dude. And that's an iconic scene. There's so much in this movie visually that never leaves you. Kubrick called. Yes, he did. He drove down with Malcolm McDowell in the car because Malcolm McDowell improvised that scene. He was like, sing something happy. And they did that, and they immediately bought the rights for like 15 grand. And also, Malcolm McDowell met Gene Kelly years later at a party, and Gene Kelly was pissed about it. He was like, you turned my magical musical, my biggest movie. And people now are going to think, when they think of that song, they'll think of that. He was like, I'm disgusted in you, and kind of walked away, gave him a dirty look. I find that so amazing. But that's when I hear Singing in the Rain, I think of Alex DeLarge and the Droogs storm in the house. It's what I can't help it. It's just it's that's the greatness of Kubrick, man. There were Clockwork Orange type gangs in Britain. Yes, yeah, and that's unfortunate that he had to do that. But it is what it is. Louis is not. Yeah, every single fucking person says that. I don't. I think it's a fucking masterpiece. If I had to do a top three Kubrick films, it would be the two on this list and Lolita. Like Lolita, I think it's like a great black comedy. But I don't know. I don't know if the humor goes over people's heads or people don't. I don't know. I can't really understand why people don't like that movie. Maybe I just overrate it. I don't know. Tom Cruise and Matthew Modine. Really? That's fucking awesome, dude. That's really cool. Where the hell did you meet Tom Cruise? That's insane. Here's a link to my film. I like to think it's quite good because I very cool, man. I'll be checking it out. Um, in the new Space Jam movie with LeBron James and Looney Tunes, the Clockwork Orange game. Yo, what? I fucking did not see the trailer. I don't know. Does my number one film involve birds? No. What the fuck? What movie are you talking about? I'm shocked you don't know this. All right, everybody, here it is. If you want to do a little jumble, almost at the 3 hour mark. Holy shit. I should almost wait the 20 seconds, right? Just to kill the suspense. Does my movie involve birds? What are you talking? I'm so confused I want to know what his guess is, though. Gotta be cats. It's cats. It's cats. Yeah, it's cats. Everybody, it's cats. No, for real. It is from 1978. It is from my favorite all-time filmmaker. It is none other than George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Signed by the legendary master himself. Yeah, this is when I actually got signed. One of the nicest interactions I ever had with anybody was meeting George Romero, one of his last conventions. He was cool enough to sign this for me, and he was just super nice. We had a really, really nice discussion, conversation, and it just was really one of the coolest things ever. May he rest in peace. Um, but to me, this is the greatest movie of all time because this is the grandest film ever made, in my humble opinion. And when I say that, it really has every single element. It's a horror film, it's an action film, it's in a lot of ways comedic at times when the biker gang is literally having a pie fight towards the end of it, like they were going to in Kubrick's Strangelove, but they felt that's too much. Romero said, "Fuck it, we're going there." Um, of course, where the hell was I? The comedic elements. There are, you know, almost a biker film elements in it sometimes. And there's a lot of dramatic elements in this too. The themes of consumerism, Romero's subtle politics that never get in the way of you enjoying the product for being entertaining on its own two legs as a whole. And that's why Dawn of the Dead's my favorite movie of all time. And to think you got four pretty much unknown actors to lead and carry your film, and they all do a wonderful job. David Emge was working as a fucking fry cook in a diner, and he took Romero's order and he said, "You want to be in a movie? You want to audition for a movie?" Scott Reiniger before this, you know the roles he was getting? Fucking a truck driver that delivered a fucking horse in a movie called Danny. I fucking watched that movie just because I'm such a big fan of Scott Reiniger, just to see his performance in it. Don't bother. It's the first minute of the movie. He's the truck driver. He doesn't have a line. And he's one of the leads in this movie, the most likable character. You have Galen Ross, who starts off this weak, timid, I can't do much, I'm weak, whatever. And she grows into this badass who can shoot zombies, fight zombies, fly a helicopter, and handle herself. And then you have the voice of reason between all of them. And to me, another one of the great performances in the history of movies, Ken Foree's Peter. I love Peter. I love his character. He is the voice of reason. He's the glue that holds them all together, because Scott Reiniger's all over the place, right? His character is a little bit jittery. David Emge, very clumsy. Galen Ross, very weak at times, especially towards the beginning of the film. But he is the voice of reason. He is the voice of logical. It's just like Richard France says in the film, we must remain logical. It's that or the end. And I always loved the message in Romero zombie films that it's not that the zombies win, it's that we lose. It's our failure to work together. It's our failure to come together, work along, because if we are not working together in here, we'll be consumed and conquered by the zombies out there. And that's why I love Romero. It's always these smart kind of psychological lessons that you can learn. And of course, the incredible gore from Tom Savini that I know people say, it looks like melted crayon. Who cares? This is a comic book film, another genre it's like, a comic book film where the blood, you can almost see it, you can almost taste it. You can almost color with it, if you will. There's the fun scenes of them after they've cleared the mall, of them just having fun in the mall, trying on clothes, ice skating, trying to get a taste of normalcy back into their lives, even though all this craziness is going on. The fact of Romero makes it feel global, even though you only see a couple of places in this movie, he still makes it feel like the world is, gone nuts. And it's really, an apartment scene, a scene outdoors somewhere by, Monroeville, and then the mall. That's really the only three places and the fucking WGON, news station. That's the only four places you see in this movie, yet he still made it feel grand. That's really hard to do. Of course, the score again by Goblin, the amazing song, and the gonk at the end, and the mall montages. Do 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 do. Whoop. Turning on all the stuff in the mall, the zombies walking up and down the escalators, grabbing the change, the broadcasts and stuff, and the internal conflict between the characters. There's that scene where they're all eating dinner. Emge keeps turning on and off the TV as Galen Ross is turning it off, and they're going back and forth. And Galen Ross finally says, "What have we done to ourselves? We're becoming monsters ourselves, and we can't control that." I just think it's a brilliant film, and when it really wants to be dramatic, it really works. I like after Scott Reiniger gets bit, there's the scene where Ken Foree goes to talk to him, and he goes, "Listen, man, just shut up. Like I don't want to talk about it." And that's a real, I think, human reaction. I don't want to talk about it. I know I'm fucked. I screwed up. I messed up. I know that. I don't need to be told that. A lot of people. I love that because that's how I am. Like I know I hear you. I hear you. Don't have to reiterate. You don't. And his heart broken. Just Ken Foree drinking the Jack Daniels, crying as his best friend is now turned into a zombie, and he has to put him down. Your heart in that moment, it just sinks because you love Scott Reiniger. His character was bigger than life. I love his character. It's just I dread his death every time I watch it. Um, the scenes of the money, money, money. You never know, robbing the bank and playing golf and basketball and all this stuff. It just has every element to love about a movie. It's directed to perfection. The story is great. The acting is great. Writing is great. Cinematography is great by Michael Gornick. The fucking all the messages, themes, tones, all of the genres within one film. Like I said, comedy, drama, comic book, biker, gore, horror, all that stuff in one total package. I think it's the most grand film ever made. And it's the movie that I always can put on and smile and say, that's why I love movies. That's why I love horror. That's why I love George Romero. And, this really is the one that I go to all the time. And I can say, hey, everything's going to be okay. It's just one of those movies. It's a feel good movie for me. And it's my favorite movie of all time. Dawn of the Dead, #1 movie of all time, in my humble opinion. That's it, ladies and gents. 20 of my favorite films of all time, over 3 hours of being in the graveyard. This is has to be the longest episode, I believe. Because I never think I went past 3 hours. But we can wrap up the comments here, and then I do have work tomorrow, unfortunately. Let me see. Wow, I missed a lot. I'll just start with this one. Why not? Dawn of the Dead might be my favorite film of all time. The commentary is great and the characters are wonderful. Plus, the score whether it be library music or goblin score. Perfect. Exactly. It fits. It fits for this movie. For some reason, every single thing, even the stuff that people say isn't good, the gore, it fits for this movie. That gore wouldn't work in Day of the Dead. That gore wouldn't work in Land of the Dead. It works in Dawn of the Dead. It just does. Another lightning in a bottle, I guess, situation where he had just come off making Martin, which I think is his deepest film. And I think that movie has a lot going on in it and like deeper themes and messages than even I've discovered over the numerous times I've watched it. It's just such a deep film. And to turn from that and go to something that is deep in its own way, but it has those fun kind of escapism parts. And, what if zombie apocalypse did happen? I would love to be trapped in a mall where you got all this great food and you can, shoot golf and shoot zombies and board up all these things, these hypotheticals. To think, what would I do in those shoes? Very, very interesting. I met Tom Savini. Very cool. That's very cool. Human beings are the real villains. Absolutely, that's it. Love the opening of this movie, the news station getting increasingly. Yes, exactly. And then you have the two, oh my God, great actors. I don't know. I'm not so sure what to believe, Doctor. All we get is what you people tell us. It's hard enough to believe without you coming in here. Just the two of them, absolute fucking fantastic performances. I can't think. I know one of their names. They both have the same first name. David Early. David Early's one of them. I forget the other guy, but David Early's one of them. Have I gone to the Memorial Knoll? No, I have not. But I talked to my mom when I was in intensive care, and she said that she's going to come with me if I would like to go on like a vacation weekend. That's going to be our place. So that was the promise. She said, if there's any dream vacation you want to do, speak now, because she was scared for me, and I understand why. So soon, one day, my friend, I promise I'll go there. And I know there's a store in the film called Grande Marquis. I don't know if it's still there, but if it is, I'll have to take a picture underneath Grande Marquis in the mall where my favorite movie ever was shot. So that's the plan if that store's still there. If not, I'll take a picture right out in front. No big deal. Favorite, yes, that was Day of the Dead, and that's a great movie. And I think in a lot of ways you can argue that's the better movie of the two, which is crazy because Dawn is my number one, but Day of the Dead is a fucking masterpiece too. It really is. Peter and Flyboy could have used that money and bought themselves a place in Fiddler's Green. Oh my God, yes, I love it. Where's Dennis Hopper at? Dennis Hopper would have never let those two in, man. They would have SWAT teamed his ass. Wow, that's amazing. It's funny. I actually rewatched Land of the Dead not too long ago. Every time I watch it, it grows a little bit more on me. Like I don't know. It's still. I can never decide whether I like that or Survival more. Like when I did the episode, the retrospective episode, I picked Survival over Land, but I don't know, maybe Land. I don't know. It's close for me. I haven't been there, dude. I can't wait to go. I want to go so bad. Very personal list, great list as well. Thank you very much. And that's the thing with all these lists. You never like. It is what like. It's a personal list. Can't really be whatever. It's just I think it's just fun to do. And this was I wanted to be on this a little bit longer tonight. Granted, I didn't think 3 hours, but a lot of fun. Very personal list, great list as well. It always interesting to see lovers of film top 20, just so you can see what their interests are and get a chance to make a film what it could be. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I think if you look at this list overall, there's a few things you'll see. You'll see a lot of horror, of course. There's definitely a lot of horror in here. You'll see a lot of heart. I think that's like the number one thing I like in my films is movies with a good heart. I think you'll see a lot of great acting performances, great directors. There's not a lot of movies on here where the director didn't go on to do anything. You know what I mean? Um, I think you'll see some underrated movies. I think you'll see some fun movies. I think a little bit of everything, and that's what I like. That's I guess why I like Dawn of the Dead the best because it has a little bit of everything. I wonder if the TV station is the same building as the radio station at the end of Zombie. Ooh, that's very. They're coming. Help! Well, in the end, they're in New York, so maybe not. But I'd like to think that the zombie horde from Zombie that goes to Pittsburgh, maybe so. But also, Zombie is a sequel to Dawn of the Dead in a lot of ways. So the original Zombie is Argento's cut of Dawn of the Dead. So I don't know. I don't know, Mr. Zitro, but that would be a fun double feature. I've never done Dawn of the Dead followed by Zombie. That would be an interesting double feature. Um, well, let me know what you think of my film. Maybe you could talk about it on the next Grande's Graveyard. I would love that, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Um, all right, everybody. I guess we'll call it there. 3 hours and 13 minutes plus. Holy moly. I have never done a live stream this long. And I got to be honest, this felt like it flew by for me. And a lot of people, I noticed a lot of people, more people watched and stayed. And I really, it means a lot to me. So I want to say thank you. It was a long road back, long road to recovery, but I'm truly blessed and happy to be back on the graveyard, talking about what I love. Again, I'd like to dedicate this episode to the memory of my grandmother. May she rest in peace. And I wanted to say thank you all so much again for joining and watching and being so nice. Everybody that commented on my video I made, Ty for making the video, all my friends and family to support me. I do this show. I know that they don't have YouTube accounts, but I know there are people that watch that probably don't have accounts that could comment or whatever. It just means a lot to me. I've had a lot of support, and I've had a lot of humbling conversations with people that makes me realize. And I said in that video how much not just people, I mean to people, but how much people mean to me. And I credit, big credit to a lot of the people that reached out. You got me through a tough time, probably the toughest month and time of my life, and I truly am appreciative of that, and I'm truly humbled by that. And I can't wait to keep doing the thing I love to do, and that's Grande's Graveyard every Thursday live at 8:05. So I hope to be back next week. I hope to be talking more things horror. I promise it won't be as long as this episode. I apologize for the fucking avant-garde 3 hours and 15 minutes top 20 list, but I don't know. I guess I missed this thing. Um, Love you guys. Too sweet. Peace. And we will catch you next time only on the graveyard. Night, everybody.